They are back out there in the community where Sebastian Roger lives right now. I don't know what is going on, but it seems like as they're ramping up this renewed effort to find Sebastian Rogers, it's taking him to some familiar places. Check it out. As I've been discussing most of the day, there has been a renewed effort in the search for Sebastian Rogers, a 15-year-old autistic boy that's missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee. It is my opinion that he disappeared under suspicious circumstances, although law enforcement is saying that there is no evidence of foul play. Sumner County Sheriff's Office put out a Facebook post stating that they're going to be out in the community looking for Sebastian Rogers as this renewed effort for Sebastian Rogers gets underway. Something isn't right. We're getting a really, really odd feeling about this case. You're going to want to stick around as we dive in. From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your support. And more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you. God bless America. And more importantly, God bless our victims. I don't know why it does that. I don't know why it does that. It should not be doing that. But I appreciate you guys telling me I was muted. Sorry about that. But it's nice to see everybody this afternoon, and we're going to get just really started right away on the Sebastian case because I've got a little bit of time to have a lot of information. Plus, we're still going to open up the phone lines to speak with each and every one of you that would like to call in and give us an idea of what your thoughts are. This is related to a 15-year-old boy, autistic boy. His name's Sebastian Rogers. He went missing on February 26th. Around between midnight and 6 a.m. On the 26th. This case has really rocked us. We don't know what is going on here, but everybody knows something is not right when it comes to this case, period. Something's not right. We feel it. We felt it from the beginning. We tried to be hopeful. We tried to be helpful. We tried to do our part to bring this case to the forefront and make it as big as possible so people are looking at this boy. I can tell you that we have accomplished that goal of making sure that a lot of people know about this boy and know that he's missing and know that he's missing in multiple states. That has been accomplished. The problem is we have conflicting issues that we need to resolve. First and foremost, did Katie truly pass her polygraph? We have no corroboration. We have no one else that can possibly tell us whether or not she has passed that polygraph test other than herself. I'm sorry. We have to remove that past polygraph out of the equation. We can't keep looking at that polygraph and saying that she passed it. We don't know. And I think it's a distraction from us looking at her in conjunction with all the information. And I'm removing it. I'm going to act like it doesn't exist. Not that she passed, not that she failed, just that she didn't take it. Because I don't know whether she took it or not. And I don't know whether she passed or failed. And I'm sorry, but her behavior has me very suspect. Has me very, very suspect. We have a lot of information, and this last video at 3 that we did on Premiere, I gotta say, my audience is a little impatient. Okay, I have to tell you guys are some impatient people. I'm just joking. I'm not joking. You guys are impatient. So I was going through, there's a lot of behind the scenes, and I don't think you guys ever kind of get the behind the scenes, us working through an issue. For example, a lot of people had to wait for somebody to tell them that video at the speedway didn't hold water before they realized it didn't hold water. That video that we dropped at 3 p.m. shows you how to process the information so you find out if it holds water. So you don't have to ask somebody. So that's what you guys were watching. You guys were watching us work through a process because we had no information. Yeah, did we get some information today that said that that video over there at that gas station didn't hold water? Yes, today. Later in the morning, started making its rounds. Well, I recorded that video wee hours of morning. So that information wasn't available to me, but the ending result was still the same. There's no way that speedway could hold water with the timing of what we know to be true with Chris. So that eliminated that. We didn't need somebody to tell us that it doesn't hold water or it might not be Sebastian. The information led us to believe that it couldn't be. So I hope you guys go back to that video now that we do know this information, and watch how how it's processed. Watch how we got to the ending result there, because that's stuff that you're going to need to use, especially when you have law enforcement not giving you any information. We've been working around the clock. I can tell you, nights, weekends, mornings, 2, 3 o'clock in the mornings, we have been working this case. We've been trying to find out where Sebastian is. And so we have been looking heavily and highly at the 2 people that we believe may hold the key to where Sebastian is, and that is Chris Proudfoot and Katie Proudfoot. We've been talking about this for a couple weeks now, and it's been a breath of fresh air to hear Nancy Grace. And I'm telling you, when us as a team, we're behind the scenes, we're working, we're chatting, we're, theorizing, we're doing all this stuff. But I got to tell you, when we heard Nancy Grace's 19-minute video, we were just like, and I went back there and I said, see, this is what I'm talking about. You guys rock. I told my team, I said, you guys are a bunch of rock stars. When we start analyzing these cases to the likes of professionals and people like Nancy Grace, and we are spot on in our assessment, we're doing a great job. And while I understand that you guys don't get to see that work behind the scenes, you guys only get to see kind of the final product, our conversations about the stuff we discuss behind the scenes. I can tell you this thing with the Nancy Grace, I was very, very happy with my team when I heard the Nancy Grace commentary. We're going to go to Nancy Grace right now. I know that everybody and their mother is playing this, but I have some very, very specific places that I want to go. So we're going to go there. But before we get to the Nancy Grace thing,
I want to talk about Narid Diver. Okay. Narid Diver is a creator that I've never personally met, but I have learned about from the Riley Strain case because of the whole debacle with Cajun Navy. Cajun Navy literally took the credit for Narid Diver on a national broadcast, which I think is disgusting. But you know what? The United Cajun Navy is a bunch of pigs. Okay. And I don't like their group. They will never get the support of Bullhorn Betty. And from this point on, if I ever hear them involved in one of my cases or a case that I'm covering, I'm going to make sure that all of the alarm bells are raised to whomever is working with them. I don't trust them. I don't like them. And I will always, forever, from this point forward, after seeing the kind of crap they did in the Sebastian Rogers case, they will be denounced each and every time by this channel. Until such time they take responsibility for their actions and change their evil ways. Then we can start working on them and getting them where they need to be. But if they don't think they have a problem, then there's nothing we can do to help them. Narid Diver, there's some stuff here, guys, that you really need to listen to. I've listened to several creators today talking about this Narid Diver interview. And to me, I feel like every last one of them missed the mark. I really do. Just about every last one of them. I haven't watched every one that I watched. I felt missed the mark. Missed the mark greatly. Why? Because they're so worried. They're so worried and focused on the dog scent hit in the pond. Because people are coming into this case and forget information at the beginning of this case. I don't know how many times law enforcement needs to come to the public and let the public know that, yes, they acknowledged a hit. Okay, let me be very clear. They acknowledged a hit, guys. You know what they said about the hit? It was a false positive. So now everybody's listening to all these recordings because the 911 and the dispatch calls are released, and they forgot law enforcement has already explained the dog and that retention pond away. So now everybody is refocused on those footprints and the retention pond, and we're going to get to that because I think that is a key issue. Okay, we're going to get to the key. I do think it is a key issue, and you're going to listen to my theories on that because I believe that it's possible that all of that was staged. It is possible. And that could have been the reason why they were so adamant that it was a false positive hit. But I'm not going to go into that just right yet. That's going to be later down in the show of here. So the Narid Diver, where I believe everybody has missed the boat, is, well, thank you, Rusty, 5 months member. She loves each of you. Hugs and kisses, hugs and kisses. Sorry, I have been working nonstop for the last several days. So just FYI. So long story short is Chris took a ride with law enforcement. And this, to me, was the literally breaking news that everybody missed. They missed the stinking mark, focusing on obsolete shit that's already been explained over and over again, in my opinion. Not to offend anybody, but I'm just a blunt person, okay? Chris got into a car with a patrolman, and went around and drove from site to site with law enforcement. He was the only one in that entire family that was taken for this ride-along. We've been doing this for a really, really long time. Not as long as many, longer than most, but we've been around the block a time or two because this is our business. When have we ever known anybody to get in the car with a cop to go around to these locations? You guys remember the last time we had a ride along? You guys remember? It was just recently too. It was in the Audrey Cunningham case. And the ride along was Stephen McDougal. Remember that? So Chris thinks this is a bragging right. He knows more than anybody else in the family because he got this ride from law enforcement. And we touched on it earlier at the 3 o'clock one with the pre-record, the premiere. I want you guys to hear this. This is ultra concerning to me. This tells me that law enforcement have put their sights on that man and that man alone. Let's listen. And I've got it just about where I got it back. We're going to be right about the 2:50 mark. So we're going to have 1 minute of, the update, because the 1 minute is all the crap that didn't matter. And the one spot in here that really, really, really did matter, nobody even picked up on. So let's listen. Yep.
And do you know how much they actually drained?
They drained the whole thing.
It's okay.
So initially, when they went over to look at it, it was only easy. From the picture that you showed me, there's a lot of new runoff.
Yeah, that's what
where they're cut. Yeah.
Trying to figure out. I was like, I don't know how shallow it was before or after.
Yeah. I'm 5'9", and it was easy.
Okay.
So and they even drained it and still walked it.
Okay. So they actually walked it. I didn't know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
And that is actually information that was told to me by law enforcement.
Okay, it's coming up right now.
Me and law enforcement, they could put me in a vehicle, right? Drove me around, showed me a bunch of stuff. I'm the only one.
Law enforcement put me in a vehicle and drove me around and showed me a bunch of stuff. I'm going to take this back. We're going to listen to it again because he says something past that.
so they actually,
Because I went on me and law enforcement, they could put me in a vehicle, right? Drove me around, showed me a bunch of stuff. I'm the only one that they've done that.
okay.
So I can actually give you a little bit more information than what
You see how he's bragging about it? He thinks it's a bragging right that he was put into this law enforcement cruiser and taken around and shown areas, and he was the only one that did it. Not the mother, not the father, just Chris. The one person that was the furthest away from Sebastian. Does that sound normal to you? Does that sound right to you? No, it doesn't. You know why? Because that is law enforcement behavior. And that is telling me they're looking squarely at Chris Proudfoot because of that one action. Them putting him in the back of the car. We've seen this 1,000 times from Sunday. Who do they put in the back of those cars and drive around for information? You be the answer to that. I'm not going to answer that question for you. It's answered for me because I know how this stuff works. And he was the only one, not the mom that was with Sebastian, not the biological father, just the stepfather. Another thing that just doesn't make sense to me. But what it does tell me is it tells me law enforcement is doing their job. It's telling me law enforcement has a hell of a lot more information than we even know. It tells me law enforcement has their theories and their own speculation. And if they know that Katie has passed her polygraph test, then why would they put her in the car? There's only... Hey guys, I wanted to let you know that I am here. I am monitoring this, but this is just going to be playing through the playlist. If you guys want to hang out. This is going to probably be running for several hours. I hope you guys are getting some of this stuff. I figured we've covered so much stuff. There's got to be some stuff that we've covered that, you know, we forgot about again, you know? So I figured maybe going through the playlist, just listening to it. I'll be popping in and out myself because it's going to be running and I've got errands to run today. So we're popping this on the smaller channel. So we don't, you know, I'll be going live later. I don't know when specifically later, but we'll be going live later. I'll let you guys know over here when I'll be going live over there while this is running. But like this right here, you know, I almost forgot about the ride along. You know what I'm saying? And also, I also want to preface that a lot of we've come a long ways since the beginning of this case. So some of the statements that you're going to hear me make in this, those opinions may have already changed, because at the beginning, I truly thought that CP broke into his own house. And you guys know today, my thought process on what happened is much different than what it was back then. So some of this stuff we may have addressed, we may have overcome. Some of the stuff we may have forgotten about and may need to re-examine and look at. So I'm just going to play it and see what we find out. Like this right here, this very first one, I forgot all about this, you know? And it just makes me wonder how much more have we covered that we forgot about that might be interesting. What does it say? Don't they do the same with Stephen Stearns? Yes. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. It's to gauge, because they had, you know, some of those officers are trained in, you know, statement analysis, body language, and like in the situation of Audrey Cunningham, they were trying to take them different places to see if they got a reaction from him to try to locate her. So there's multiple reasons why they pack them up and take them for a ride along. But we've definitely seen it before. And, you know, usually when it's just one of them by themselves, it's usually a suspect of some sort, you know, in our experience. Does that mean it's always? No, of course not. But in the situation, especially the situation we are in all these months later from when this was previously recorded, you know, we got to look at that. There's a lot here that we may have forgotten about. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm going to shut up now. Only one person being put in a patrol car to go around. And again, the only time I ever see that is just a few things. And the last time I saw that was just back in February. And the person that took that ride along was the person that's sitting behind bars right now for doing horrible atrocities to a little girl. And his name's Stephen McDougal. So it looks like Mr. Proudfoot's right up there with the status of Mr. McDougal. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Now, here's kind of the Nancy Grace stuff. And there's one lady that I want you to hear. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this. And the reason why I'm not going through all of this is because I absolutely 100% believe that everybody under their mother is going to be showing this new video with Nancy Grace. And so I'm very specific with what I want to show you on here. And there's one. Oh, thank you. It's me, Jen. If you guys received your gift membership, please don't forget to tell it's me, Jen. Thank you for being a wonderful mod and a wonderful subscriber here on the Bullhorn Betty channel. So there's one. I mean, she always has great experts. Okay. You guys know how I feel. Even when I don't like Nancy Grace or I disagree with her assessment, I still love Nancy Grace at the end of the day. Okay. I love Nancy Grace. There's just, you guys cannot take me off. I can be as mad as a hornet nest, right? At Nancy Grace. And I still love that woman. She's my BFF. She's my secret BFF, or I'm her secret BFF. Nancy Grace, I'm the stalker in the bushes, okay? If you ever see somebody just peeking in the bushes, just holler out and say, hey, Bullhorn Betty. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I need to stop. All right, so let's get here. There's a few things I want to talk about, but it's this. Let me make sure I got the right expert on here. Here's the expert. Hold on here. I think I got it. Okay, there it is. I think it's right here. I think I got it right here, but this is the area that I want to talk about.
Host of Zone 7 is a forensic expert.
Forensic expert.
Joe Scott Morgan, death investigator. Cheryl, you've had quite a lot to say online.
This is the lady right here.
Cat got your tongue, because I don't like that. You're pretty.
She's very pointed. She's very, she's this lady here. Her expert here is a very astute person. This is a person that I value her opinion. I value both of these ladies' opinions very, very, very greatly. But I think this lady here explains everything in a nutshell. And I just want to inform the people. We are all, okay, from experts down to lay people, are looking directly and squarely at Chris Proudfoot right now. When we've got Nancy Grace putting down the hammer on Chris Proudfoot and his wife, we know that there is definitely something stinking to high heaven. What we thought was true is most likely true. And that's sad. It's really, really sad. So let's get through this little spot, and then I'm going to open up the phone lines. I want you guys to call in and let me know your thoughts on this new information. How do you feel about the Narcotic Diver? Please do not call in. Again, this is a pre-recorded show. The people that have already called in will call in. And not only that, this is my old call-in show number. We no longer use that. So you wouldn't even get me even if you wanted to. So just FYI for anybody, please let everybody know in chat, do not call in. You're not going to get me. This is previously recorded. Oh, thank you, Turtle Gang. Love you. Love you. Thank you, honey. This is a previously recorded show, okay? I just want to make sure we're going back in time, folks. We're going back in time, okay? So I'm here, but that is previously recorded from a really long time ago, because it's been a really long time since we've videotaped in the office. You see that pink chair behind me? That's my lovey, comfy office chair that I don't sit in as much as I probably should. I wonder if my back problems would feel better if I sat in a much more, I don't know. Maybe we need to go back in the office. We'll see. Okay. But we haven't been in the office in a while. Okay. So do not call into the show. Previously recorded. I just wanted to make sure I said that like a million gajillion times for people that are coming in. I'm here. You can't see me. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Hold on. I always do that. You can see me now. Hi, guys. I'm here. So at any rate, we're just going through some old stuff. Revelation. Again, I felt like everybody missed the boat because we've been told that hit out there at that retention pond was a false hit. So is that a lie from law enforcement? It very well could be, but it also could be it was staged and they realized it was staged. So let's get this part and then we'll get the phones open for you guys.
Be bold when nobody's questioning you. But what about now? I want to hear your analysis.
Here's my problem. They're statements. You've got inconsistencies. As soon as somebody changes their story at all, they should become the focus, period. Mom has said different things.
Oh, I'm proud of you, Brandy. Awesome. It's nice to see you.
Like he's co-signing with everything that she says, but he allegedly wasn't there. So how can he agree with anything that she's saying? You
co-signing on information when he sits there and says he wasn't even there. We all picked up on that. We picked up on that. We saw that. We saw that in the Chronicles of Olivia interview about the cousin. How would he know? But he knew. Doesn't make sense.
You got Mom saying she heard a thud. I don't like that word. That sounds like a body hitting the floor. When people use the word thud, that's not sounded like he hit the wall, sounded like something.
No, it's
wrong.
never a good thing. It's usually preceded by an adjective, sickening, a sickening thud.
Right. And Nancy, you've got other things. You've got mom saying he went to the end of the driveway to put out the trash. And then you've got
See, she's picking up on the trash, guys. Remember how we said all of this stuff that we're hearing, there's a reason for it, down to the flashlight. There's a reason why they had to put that in their story. There's a reason. The whole the landfill search. There's a reason, guys. There's a reason for all of this. You got to listen to this lady. She's smart as a whip and she's in tune. This is experts speaking, folks. Experts.
law enforcement searching a landfill. They're searching lakes. They're searching ponds. If you're watching and paying attention to law enforcement, it does not seem to me that they are looking to recover a child alive.
That is the most heartbreaking out of all of this. And this is something that we've known in our gut for a long time, that law enforcement and every other talking heads are telling us that we're wrong for feeling it. Shame on us. The horrible social media people. Why don't they just say that we're just, they don't like us talking because we get it? Why don't we just have a little truth serum, shall we? Just a thought. Just a thought. But that's the most heartbreaking, because let's talk about that. These law enforcement, we talk about law enforcement behavior on this show all time, and lack of information. Where do I go? I go directly to what is law enforcement doing, because their behavior is very telling to me. And they are searching landfills. They are searching waterways. They're searching in the woods 6 weeks later. We're not dumb people here. This isn't good. I've said that and I've maintained it. This is not a good situation at all.
They are searching for remains. You and I both know, and Joe Scott knows, when a child goes missing, the first 3 hours are critical. We're at 6 weeks. 6 weeks, this child has not been seen or heard from.
Okay, hold on. Why are you saying, Cheryl McCollum, that you believe they don't expect to find Sebastian alive based on their actions? I'm talking about LE law enforcement.
Now, you know, if this conversation was being had on the Bullhorn Betty show, we'd be hanging in the trees, right? We'd be hanging in the trees. But the truth of the matter is, statistics is what guides us. And unfortunately, statistics in situations like this, in this amount of time, is just never good, guys. There's There we go. Sorry about that. I'm trying to my, like, the air conditioning and stuff doesn't already, because there's already issues with the audio on this, because I was on my sound equipment and I didn't turn my microphone off, and it picked up the air conditioning so much. It drove me nuts. But this was recorded a really long time ago, you know, and these were the conversations had a really long time ago. You know, the thing I've got is a lot of this assessment way back when really hasn't changed all that much. The phone, because we don't want you calling in. This is all previously recorded. I even have it down there, previously recorded. Do not call in. Just, you know, I'm guessing they have an energy smart meter. Check for energy spikes. Oh, going into early hours, indicating washing and drying of clothes and bedding. Interesting. That's a good point. Good point. And I'm also thinking, you know, Frank, in that same, you know, mindset is, think about, like, the stuff that we were showing on the other channel, like with Alec Murdaugh and stuff like that, you know. Think about it. Like, they could tell when he moved 29 steps. Like, that's like from, I don't know how many steps. I haven't counted 29 steps, but it doesn't sound like it's a whole lot, you know. 14 feet. I guess every step would be a foot, foot and a half. So that tells you how many feet, but that would probably be back and forth. So, 29, it's like 14 feet away, not very, very far. So it's kind of interesting that they can get it down. And it makes me wonder, was anybody's phone or anybody's, products moving at the time that it is stated, you know what I'm saying? Like it's stated that they're sleeping. That'd be some interesting information. Let me see. Yeah, all right, let's get back. There's just nothing we can do about it. It's just not good.
There's searches. They're searching landfills, lakes, ponds. That is not indicative of somebody that is alive. And again, you've got a child that has gone 6 weeks without his medicine, 6 weeks without food that we know of. He didn't have a source, no shoes. And mama herself says, oh, a flashlight's missing. Again, that's such an odd thing
It
for
is.
her to know is missing until they show her video that looks like a flashlight.
Boom.
And then the stepdad says, well, we were sure hoping it was, but we're sad to report it wasn't a flashlight. Well, if you've got 2 flashlights out there, why are you glad that it's not that? That to me would signify that somebody was out there in the wee hours of the morning with 2 flashlights, meaning 2 separate people, the night your child went missing. I mean, it's just odd.
Before we listen to the end of that, I want to know by the shows of 1s and 2s, who actually believes that those light sources are a garbage truck? If you believe they're a garbage truck, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't believe, what we're being told those light sources are, put a 2 in the chat. I'm not going to say whether you think they're flashlights or not.
1 or 2.
I just want to know, do you honestly think it's a garbage truck? Do you think those, because, okay. So we're getting some people in here, and so we do have a 1. Thank you for those that are, that do the 1s. Thank you for being honest. I appreciate that. So we've got a few that believes that is a truly a garbage truck. See, I haven't been there, so I can't tell what angle that camera is looking at. And so they're saying it's pointed to the back of the house, but when we've looked at it before, we put it up on the screen, and it doesn't appear that there's a roadway back there. So I'm confused. I'm so confused. Are we just being, are they just lying to us? Which we have to understand that this is a very complicated and messy situation. Oh, thank you. It's me, Jen. This is a complicated situation where, the parents truly may be responsible for this young boy's disappearance. And the thought of that is disturbing. But because of that complexity, I think that law enforcement has to lie to the public and has to lie about certain aspects of it, because they have the integrity of this investigation they have to maintain. And they still have to solve this case, and they still have no clue where this boy is. But in my opinion, they're looking in all the wrong places. I truly believe. But you know what? There's a piece of me that say he could possibly be in the landfill, but if he's not in that landfill, he's somewhere along that I-40 corridor or somewhere near that Yogi Bear campground. I mean, Chris Proudfoot had to get up in the middle of all this searching the very next day to pick up his camper, which didn't make sense to any of us. And then they turn around and go right back to the same camping ground. Why didn't he just leave it there? It doesn't make sense. There's something with the camper. There's something with the flashlight. There's something with the 3-hour phone call. There's something with the door. There's something with all of it. It stinks to high heaven. And then on top of all of So I just wanted to stop it there because, I mean, let's face it. This was 6. Well, I just realized when this was because they said it's been 6 weeks. So this was 6 weeks into the case. 6 weeks in, and we had a good idea. And so this entire time, all we have been doing is fact finding and collecting information and pointing out the things that we were stating as opinions. You know, this stuff is stinking to high heaven. And the more that we dive into the case, the more it's solidifying our opinions and speculations back then. So this was 6 weeks in, everything stinks to high heaven. We feel like, you know, all these things mean something, but we really don't know what they mean. You know, it's taken months and months and months for us to put this piece together, put that piece together, go back and forth, trying to see what, you know, new revelations come out from this interview and go back and see if that means anything from the other interviews. It's been a painstaking process all these months putting it together, but we had a clue all the way back then that all these specific things were going to mean something. And guess what? Still to this day, every single one of those things identified back then, still means something very important in this case. So that we're starting to hear from people. Now, I don't know if this is true. I'm not going to stand on my channel and say it's true. So we're going to say this is an awful rumor that may hold water. We hear that Chris Proudfoot doesn't work weekends, which I knew that. I knew that already from out the gate. We've been talking about that from out the gate. And that's why I believe he was home, because I don't know any construction worker that's going to stay in a camper when they can sleep in their own damn bed. Doesn't make Again, oh, my mic's still on. Again, this is, I still think that statement might still hold some truth in all fairness, because all these months later, we have definitely circled back to that, because Silver's on the scene has identified possibly a 4-day weekend, and definitely did not tell anybody at his work about Sebastian missing, and actually got thrown off the site, as well as corroborating that he would not have been on that site, as he stated when he received that call at 6:03. He said on the WSMV interview that he was like, you know, he had his crane tower plug in one ear, his phone plug in the other ear, and he was a little confused about everything. And we were told that they don't get there until 6:30, 6:45 for the crane work. So he wouldn't have been at the job site at 6 a.m. I don't know anybody that would just get there an hour early for work. But again, that was the story he said, but he also identified being up in the crane. And that's where it's not accurate, because at 6 o'clock in the morning, he's not up seated in the crane. So a lot of information that you guys might want to pay attention to. And this was a lot of the lies up front. Remember, this is about 6 weeks after Sebastian disappeared. Makes sense. A lot of stuff that doesn't make sense in this case. But let me get back here. I've got my my handy dandy notes. So I felt the narco diver. We'll go back to that in just a second. So I felt the narco diver was focused on the wrong facts. Ellie stated multiple times the dog hit was false in their opinion. Our hit, yeah, in their opinion, I put on here, and that it could mean several things. One, staged, like maybe they learned that this whole thing was staged because there was bare feet, and they happened to say the boy left the house without shoes on. So, or it could just be old scent, or just truly a false hit. And then in Nancy Grace, she's talking about the polygraph test and how Chris, I mean, she calls Chris out and hits him hard in this thing. We didn't go cover it because for what I was covering on this show, we don't need that. But she hit him hard with the polygraph test because he's playing games with that. He doesn't want to take a polygraph test. Like even the expert in here that we're about to start playing in just a second is sitting there telling us that we can solve this right now. All you need to do is take a he doesn't need to be court ordered for a polygraph. There's never going to be a court order. He doesn't need to go to TBI for a polygraph. A polygraph is a polygraph is a polygraph. So he could literally, if he wanted to put this to rest, if Chris Proudfoot wanted to put this baby to rest today, he could literally go and purchase his own polygraph test. He wouldn't need to do it through Nancy Grace. He wouldn't need to do it through TBI, and he could put this whole mess behind us. So the question is, why? Why won't he give us a polygraph? Why won't he tell us where he's at? Why does he have markings all up and down his arms? Why is he the one so secretive? Why is he the one that stinks to freaking high heaven? And then we find out he may not even have been to work Monday.
Oh my gosh, guys, I got to be honest with you. It has been a while since I have seen this. I didn't realize this was the very first video up on the playlist when I hit it. But holy smokes. This was 6 weeks after. I got to see what date this was. Let's see what I'm curious to see what date this was. This was done 9 months ago. Holy smokes. 9 months ago. You know what? My opinions haven't changed much. I don't know. I don't know what to say. My opinions haven't changed much. Holy smokes. From 9 months ago. 9 months ago. Wow. In my opinion, Chris has been getting help before, and to me that help is coming from the ones assigned to the investigation and the sheriff. I don't know. Maybe, I don't really have a lot. I'm kind of in a pickle where I want to support Seth, and I don't want anything that I say to hinder anything that he's doing, but you guys know my opinion. My very, very humble opinion about the situation. So we'll leave it at that. I still want to know why Chris said his drive to and from could be measured doorstep to doorstep. Way too much detail. You know what I think that is I really think that has something to do. He had to look that up for his timeline or something, or he was trying to be prepared with any type of question that she might ask, and just Googled it, or put it in the map, and that's what it said at the time that he checked it, because that just seems to me like he had to have checked Google or Google Map or Apple Map. I mean, he obviously had just recently checked that for that. I mean, he was very specific. 3 hours and 37 minutes doorstep to doorstep. So I'm sure he knows you, Alquito Taco Bell. That's funny. All Chris should say is, I don't know. I wasn't there. He got a lot to say for not being there. But that was noticeable way back when. So, I mean, it's crazy because I'm listening to this, and even though my theory has changed on what happened to Sebastian, my assessment of the involvement of the stepdad really hasn't changed a whole lot. And we're still, it does identify, we're still talking about the same stuff that didn't make sense 9 months ago today. It's, when I look at it like that, it's like, man, this is nothing new. We have some new information, since this was recorded. But wow, a lot of the same commentary we have today.
We're hearing, now again, horrible rumor that could hold water. We're going to throw it out here. I'm going to say it's rumor because I can't corroborate it right now, but believe your butts, I am working on it. But we're hearing that he may not even have been at work Monday. So did he lie about the whole thing about his wife calling him and him being on this major crane and how he had to
that did not hold water. So just FYI, and that might have been prior to the coworker or the manager or his supervisor or whatever coming forward. I just, man, look at that face. Don't mess with Betty.
Get off, and wait there until 9 to have somebody relieve him. I don't know. All I know is he has a propensity of lying.
Hey, Abigail.
He has a propensity of lying to me. He has a propensity of lying to you. He has a propensity of lying to every single person related to this case. And we have to ask ourselves, why would anybody have to lie when there's a boy missing? Their boy.
Still the same thing.
That is concerning. Let's listen to the rest of this little tidbit from this investigator, and then we'll get the phone lines open. You can tell me how you're feeling today, what you're thinking. And guys, if you think of a location, I mean, by all means, please let me know if you guys think that there's a probability of a place, whether you know about it, heard about it, felt it, whatever. I'm going to be out there on the 21st. And so we need to have some ideas of where to search, because I'm going out there to search for this boy. I just want to pull my resources in areas that need them, because if we have a lot of people penetrating the ground in and around Hendersonville, that's not the place I need to be. I need to be at a place that isn't being searched, that should be searched.
What do you make of a 3-hour conversation held between Mrs. Proudfoot and Mr. Proudfoot the night Sebastian disappears?
The 3-hour phone call bothers me, because again, that's a long time to be on the phone. And, you're hearing your son supposedly, he's answering you supposedly during that time, but you don't go check on him at all. Did somebody leave their phone just on while they went and did something else? I don't know. But I agree with Joe Scott. The electronics are going to tell the story. When his mama first entertained the idea that somebody had him, what did she base that on? His phone's not missing. He didn't take shoes, didn't take clothes, didn't take money. Nothing on his cell phone, nothing on his computer says that he's been talking to anybody. I mean,
exactly.
She's entertaining something that we have no facts for.
Well, I'm concerned about and you're right. Whenever I hear inconsistent statements, as I have discussed many, many times in front of juries, it's one thing to add or embellish your original statement.
Listen to this.
Because maybe you weren't asked the right questions first time around. Maybe you remembered something in addition, triggered by questions. But when you change your story, that's a problem. To Joe Scott Morgan joining us.
So there you go. That is the forensic expert that I personally like. I like how she really honed in on all of our concerns. We've been talking about these very things about this case for literally weeks. And now we're starting to realize our concerns actually are legit and hold water. They hold water. So that's where we are right now, guys. So I'm just going to start talking about the case and getting us some additional information, because I'm opening up the phone lines for those that would like to.
Okay.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We're asking for the public's help. We are searching
this might be
in
the first
woods.
time I
We are doing
talked
what
about
it
this
takes
case.
here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find. Apparently, there's another person that went missing a few years ago that had never been found. So law enforcement hasn't said who the remains are. And of course, this could change. But it's my understanding that it's possible that it was the person earlier on in the case. So many of you guys are here for this boy here. This boy is Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared February 26th on the same day Madeline Soto disappeared. Madeline Soto was found by March 1st. Sebastian Rogers still has not been found yet. We learned, I'm just going to tell us all the facts that we know, very short and simply. I'm not going to elaborate. We're going to get into speculation here in just a second, but I'm just going to give everybody that's in right now just the short order facts of this case. It is our understanding that on February 25th, which was a Sunday, he was out with his mother to several places. They got home. What time they got home, we don't know, but they went out for the day. They came home. By 9 p.m., Sebastian's mother put him to bed. According to Sebastian's mother, she was on the phone with his stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, for approximately 3 hours or up until midnight, when he finally told her she sounded really tired and just to go on to bed. Apparently, she went to bed around midnight. When she woke up the next morning on February 26th, around 6 a.m., she went into his room and he was gone. She calls Chris Proudfoot, his stepfather, immediately. And within 3 minutes, according to Katie Proudfoot, his mother, she stayed on the phone with Chris Proudfoot as they walked around the house looking for him. And then they proceeded to immediately call law enforcement. So that was the information that we had up front. Now that information has changed. The story has modified. There are now, instead of it just being Katie and Sebastian that day, we now have 2 aunts and a cousin that were present. And I don't know if they're on her side of the family or the Proudfoot side of the family. Don't forget the Bowersock's mom was on scene when Seth showed up. We're going to be getting there. So since then, a lot of information has come out about this case that has made people very uncomfortable, because we saw Katie and Chris Proudfoot touting across social media, touting across mainstream media, professing their concern for their son and wanting him to come home. However, they really weren't. When you really look at those interviews, it was more about them, their image, their reputation, and oh, by the way, we have a missing son. So people were picking up on that. We started getting our activism together here on social media platforms. Yes, we do news stuff, but we have a lot of activism, right? We get people together, we community organize, we crowd fund, so to speak, with bodies, right? And so we got a mess of people out there searching for Sebastian, and Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, was there. He was there. But the 2 people that weren't there and that continued not to be there over and over and over again were Chris and Katie Proudfoot. And so the volunteers were asking, hey, where are they? Why aren't they here helping? And so Chris and Katie tell the world, law enforcement tells us to stay home, We can't go out and help you guys search. But the searchers were talking about some people following them while they were searching. But it wasn't Katie or Chris. A few people started, getting snapshots of who these people were, and it appeared to be people related to Chris Proudfoot, such as Big D and the Bowersocks. So people were like, okay. And then it wasn't that. They tell us they have to stay home, and then they're found at a barbecue joint eating, but they didn't have time. They had time to go out of their house to eat, but not out of their house to search for their boy. And that was it. Everybody started breathing down their neck. They're like, what in the hell is going on with you two? Why aren't you out here searching? Why are you at a barbecue joint? And then they're so busy trying to find out who took that picture of them. They don't even answer why they wouldn't go out and search. They started calling every single creator to find out who posted that photo of them.
I forgot about that. The barbecue joint photo. When people online and others, I think even a news organization might have reached out to them to ask them, about the photo, or if they had any comment or anything like that. And they never answered the question why they told one of the searchers earlier that day that called them they couldn't leave the house but they could leave the house to go and sit down for a meal, versus ordering it in or something like that, or getting it to go because they had to be home. You know what I'm saying? So but I forgot that, and I remember that happening. So what had happened is, at one of the vigils, we're playing a playlist right now. And so this playlist is kind of, I think it's playing in the order I saved these to the playlist when it was set up, which kind of sucks because it means they're out of order a little bit. I'd like them to be like date order, and I don't know how to do that. So long story short, we're at the time when the searchers were out at the out searching for Sebastian. There was a huge group of people, and they told the searchers they couldn't go out and help them search because law enforcement told them that they needed to stay inside the home and be available to them, even though they have cell phones, right? And so they kind of, the searchers kind of seemed to understand. They didn't push them or press them on the situation. They just continued to search. But during their search, they were followed. They were harassed. They got the cops called on them from this group of people that ended up being family members to either Chris or Katie. I can't remember. I think it was Chris's side, but I'm unsure. The details are a little hazy at this point. So, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It was something like that. But that evening they were seen, and somebody captured a photo of them eating at this local barbecue joint. I don't even think anybody even knows what the name of the barbecue joint is, but somebody snapped a picture and posted it on social media. And so people were asking them, why were you out eating, having a dinner when you told everybody you couldn't leave the house? And he decided to call everybody to find out who leaked the photo. And he never answered the question as to why they couldn't search for Sebastian, but they could go out to eat when they said they weren't allowed to leave the home. I mean, that was what they said. They weren't allowed to leave the home. So, tomato, I guess.
Not anything about Sebastian, not anything about the searches. Why that photo? The very next day, they pack up their camper and they kick rocks. So then after that starts happening, Seth starts getting a little more vocal, and we start learning a little more about what's going on behind the scenes. And then we have Trev Time on YouTube, another TikToker's page. Sheila, no, I don't know. I'll have to go back. Wait until I'm done and then tell me about what is going on, and I'll answer your question. But I can't do that right at this moment. But Sheila, ask me that. I'll let you know when to ask me, and I'll answer your question. So Seth started being more vocal about what was going on and started letting us in a little bit. And then we started learning about, and of course, Chris Proudfoot letting people know about how the belt incident. We started learning about CPS being involved. Then Trev Time brings in Nina. We start hearing about, how Chris Proudfoot treated her kids, his stepkids when he was married to her, how he treated her, how he tried to get her to come back to Tennessee in a concocted effort with his family, i.e. his mother, the Bowersox, to take faith from this woman that obviously looks like a pretty good mom, if you ask me. And you got this SOB concocting this plan after she just had a baby, to take that baby away from her because he didn't want to pay her child support. He didn't want the baby. He was just going to be damned if this gold-digging bee is getting any a penny from him, right? You know those kind of men, right? We all do. We all do. No surprise. No surprise. And so that was when we started saying, all this stuff we're feeling about Chris and Katie, this is starting to come out. This is starting to come out. We don't feel comfortable. We have, law enforcement can blow smoke up the public's butt all they want to, but I'm sorry, we're not idiots, okay? We're not the idiots we once were. We have this whole true crime community, and we do this every day, and we watch their behaviors. And the bottom line is, as while law enforcement is sitting here telling us to our face that this is not a criminal investigation, their actions are saying much different. As we learned from Narcoid Diver, there's only one person. And who's Narcoid Diver? Narcoid Diver is out there looking in the waterways, a volunteer, a person that has a social media platform, that uses his social media platform to do his work. A criminal investigation. And we do this every day, and we watch their behaviors. And the bottom line is, as while law enforcement is sitting here telling us to our face that this is not a criminal investigation, their actions are saying much different.
That is what I wanted to say. You know, even back then, we knew that this was a criminal investigation, despite what law enforcement was saying to us. It was very frustrating that they were lying to the public's face and condemning everybody and anybody that said otherwise because they didn't say it. At the end of the day, there's certain policies and procedures in every stage of an investigation. And if you follow those policies and procedures and see what their behaviors are, because when there's a criminal investigation, there's no talking to the public. There's everything close to the vest. Some people are a little creative in their communications with the public, and some just aren't. And this one is just not. That's all there is to it.
As we learned from Narcoid Diver, there's only one person. And who's Narcoid Diver? Narcoid Diver is out there looking in the waterways, a volunteer, a person that has a social media platform, that uses his social media platform to do his work. He's out there. Well, Chris Proudfoot called him, not yesterday, the day before yesterday, and was on the phone with him, and everybody picked up on the wrong key. First and foremost, the feet, the retention pond, and everything like that. Law enforcement told us early on that they had a false hit. Everybody is forgetting that they had a false hit.
And I don't believe it's a false hit. I believe they hit on a scent. It just wasn't Sebastian's. So, you know, when this was recorded, I was going off what they were saying. It's much different this many months later with more information. So, and quite frankly, just recently, my thought process changed in real time, where after we heard the behavior of a secondary car in the neighborhood, I kind of believe that the scent started at the construction site and went toward the house versus coming from the house toward the construction site. So any of my commentary from the house to the construction site is now might have a different opinion or might be altered a little bit because of how I feel now. Now, is it right one way or the other? I really truly don't know. It's just that it is something that I had not entertained up until recently.
And is focusing on that portion of the Narcoid Diver's interview, saying, oh my gosh, there were real feet and there was a real hit. Yes, law enforcement explained it a while ago. I'm not worried about it. But what Chris Proudfoot said in that interview, and it's right at, if you go over to Narcoid Diver on YouTube, it's right at the 2 minute and 50 second mark. Right at the 2 minute and 50 second mark. I'm telling you, you guys can go check it out yourself. That's my receipt. And he basically stated, law enforcement.
Sorry, it wouldn't be. I can't help myself but to point out that people constantly say that I don't have receipts, but I do provide receipts for everything I say and for my opinion. So the people that are watching in the bushes, I just want to say I have receipts and I show receipts. I make you work for them a little bit, but I got them.
Enforcement went and picked him up and drove him around. Not the mother, not the father. They picked up Chris and drove him from place to place to see if he knew anything. And he was bragging on the Narcoid Diver, if you need anything, I can tell you, because law enforcement came and picked me up, and only me. And they drove me around to look at these places. Now, we've been around the block a time or two to know what that strategy is. When was the last time that strategy was deployed while we were on this platform? Do you guys remember? You guys remember Audrey Cunningham, that little girl that Olivia and I just happened to be in Tennessee when she went missing? Or excuse me, Texas, when she went missing? Remember her? You remember that disgusting, despicable predator named Stephen McDougal? Remember him? Well, Stephen McDougal also got that ride with law enforcement. He was the only one that got that ride too. You know why they give you that ride? They give you that ride so they can watch your body language. They can look at your demeanor. They can find out if they're hot or cold. He was the furthest person from this child, according to him. The furthest person. So if he was the furthest person away from this boy right here, why is he the only one going for that right along with law enforcement? Doesn't make sense. Then, yesterday, mind-blowing, Nancy Grace. If anybody knows anything about Nancy Grace, I love Nancy Grace. I'm bold. I understand I am an acquired taste. Okay, I get it.
I will continue to say I love Nancy Grace. I love Nancy Grace. I love Nancy Grace.
I love Beth Chapman. I love Nancy Grace. I love people that kick in the front door. Don't forget Judge Judy. Right? I love people that kick in the front door, and I love the bluntness. I love the pointedness. I'm a blunt person. I love people being blunt with me. I don't take offense to it. If I ask you if my butt looks fat in these jeans, I'm truly asking you, does my ass look fat in these jeans? You better tell me the truth. One thing I don't like is a liar or a thief, okay? Don't lie to me. If I look crazy, tell me I look crazy, damn it. But Nancy Grace, she really wanted to ask the Proudfoots question. She really wanted a fact finding. She's listening to the crazy people on social media too, pointing the finger at these people and saying, wait a minute, yeah, let me talk to them, right? Nancy Grace is one of those people like me. I don't like taking other people's work. I want my own work. Let me talk to them. Chris won't talk to me. I think Chris and Katie are scared of Bullhorn Betty. But Nancy Grace got him on her show.
How that satire came true, huh? I was sarcastic when I said it. I'm still sarcastic about it now.
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. 3 years ago. Right? We saw that. They were scared being on Nancy Grace. Okay. They were scared of being but Chris has to, make sure everybody knows, because it's all about the image with him. Right. So he's acting all nice, cool, nonchalant when she said, hey, you guys have polygraph test? Any polygraph test? Polygraph test behind door number 1. Right. We've heard everybody had polygraph tests. It's all over social media. Chris had a polygraph test and passed. Katie had a polygraph test and passed. Seth had a polygraph test and passed. Who told us this? Chris Proudfoot. That's right. Chris Proudfoot told us that, didn't he? Huh. Well, that's kind of funny, because on Nancy Grace, she asked him, who had a polygraph test? And they go, well, I did. Well, I didn't. What? Yes. So now we found out the only person that had their polygraph test was Katie Proudfoot. And she's like, oh, I passed. I don't believe that, but hey, that's what she says. So Nancy's like, well, why didn't you have a polygraph test? Well, I offered many times to have a polygraph test, he says, right? I offered many times. Oh, really? You did? Well, let me go ahead and help you out with that, right? So Nancy Grace is like, we love Nancy Grace. You want a polygraph test? I'm happy to help. Let me pay for it for you, right? We know Nancy Grace. If I pay for it, will you take it? What does he say? Name a place and a time. Remember that? Name a place and time. Okay. Well, she named a place and time, and she gets this text message back from him saying, oh, well, TBI told me not to take it with the Nancy Grace show. She's like, really? Wow. She had an expert on there yesterday and everything. Long story short, Nancy Grace calls Chris Proudfoot out about that that very polygraph test. And she put her expert on, and her expert basically said,
Yeah, you guys aren't going crazy. This is, if you look at the bottom of the screen, previously recorded. We're going back in a little bit of time because we've covered so much of this case. I think we forget some things, and I forgot several things. I'm learning all over again, and it's hard to believe I still, not much has changed. That's a little concerning in and of itself. This was from like 9 months ago.
we have a lot of problems here. We have a lot of problems. Everything that we've been talking about for all these days, guys, do you know they hit almost everything the Bullhorn Betty channel has been putting out for the last week, almost in verbatim order. We're not dumb here. We're not dumb here. These are forensic experts saying, hey, the flashlight means something. The 3-hour phone call means something. All these things that we've been talking about, they mean something. And so this expert is saying, look, this is the bad part about it. Law enforcement is telling us to our face, there is no possibility. No, they're not saying no possibility. They're saying there's no evidence, right? There's no evidence of foul play. Okay, there's no evidence of foul play. There's no evidence that there's not foul play. Now let's look at law enforcement's behavior. Just like Nancy Grace's forensic expert that was on there yesterday morning states, she does not believe, and guys, I don't want to burst your bubble. Don't beat me up. I'm just the messenger here. They doubt
Just
law
saying.
enforcement believes this boy is alive. Period. And Nancy Grace asked her why. And if you guys watch me on YouTube, one of the biggest things I always say is in lack of information,
My mic's hopefully my mic's stuck on. There's just, you guys know how I feel. One of the reasons why I'm not so strongly stating my feelings is because I think I have conveyed my feelings to the public enough. And, we have a father that needs hope. And so, as you guys can see, no other reason than just the fact that I feel like my audience knows my feelings, and I don't like it. It hurts me for Seth to ever have to listen to some of this stuff, but it's reality. So I try to tone it down a little bit when I know he's in the chat. But back this time, I was just stating facts to you guys, and at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff that I said back then, I still believe to this day. So I don't, there's reasons. And if you guys are wondering, that's kind of what the reasoning is.
information, I look at law enforcement behavior. Well, that's because that's how you look at things, right? And so that is exactly what this forensic expert said. She basically said, in lack of information, we need to look at the law enforcement's behavior. What's in the law enforcement's behavior? Now, this is where it starts getting sad. Where are they looking? They're looking in waterways. They're looking in ponds. They're looking in bodies of water. And they're looking in landfills. That is the behavior of law enforcement. That doesn't sound like law enforcement is looking for a healthy boy. Period. So while law enforcement is looking at us in front of our face and saying there's no evidence of any type of foul play, their behavior is not indicative of that statement.
Pretty interesting theories then, because you know what? Now that Jennifer Coffindaffer has had an opportunity to provide her expertise, we understand how difficult it must have been to get a search warrant of a landfill. You understand? And this does come into play. This was more serious than what they were saying in front of our face. Hindsight, again, 2020, but in all fairness, we knew at this juncture 9 months ago, these things meant something. And they still do at this point. And I keep wondering, what were they truly looking for? Because there were so many rumors being passed around at the time. From, you know, they're looking for their thrown away surveillance cameras. The weight of the garbage can was heavier than normal, which was a little odd. You know, there's just a lot of statements that we look back upon now that we have more information, and we realize it wasn't, we weren't being told the truth, you know. And because we weren't being told the truth and things were being held from us and in deception, I had to think they had to do that. And they may have had to do that because they knew that there were friends of his in the, you know, sheriff's department. You know, there may have been some things going on here we're not taking into consideration, and weren't taking into consideration at this juncture in the case.
Because they're taking Chris for ride-alongs. They're searching waterways. They're searching landfills. But it seems like the only person getting a whole bunch of attention from us, as well as law enforcement, is Christopher Proudfoot. That is very telling. All right, guys. I've got a few more things. So if you guys want to start putting your questions down in chat, I'll start looking at them and answering them. But here are some key takeaways on the Nancy Grace show. He lied about the polygraph test. He lied about the belt issue. He lied about CPS being involved. And then there was also some questions about how in the world did he know? Because a couple of the statements he made led the public to believe that Christopher Proudfoot has had CPS involved because he seemed to know the CPS worker that came out for him. Little weird.
All I got to say is, you know, now we know why he was so on a first name basis with the caseworker, because they've seen each other a few times, you know? And I'm just, all of these things that we were just learning about 9 months ago, look at how they've grown fruit and how they've come to fruition. And not only that, but not that it's good that it came to fruition, but look at, we were thinking, you know, 2, maybe 3 times. It was an overwhelming 5 times. And then we learned that they've been trying to get him out of the home since October of 2022. That's 100 times worse than what we thought it was. The truth was related to that. 100 times worse. You know? So it's kind of weird going back into time and watching some of this stuff, because to be honest with you, I haven't watched it. We're watching it all together for the first time again. I don't even know what order it is. I have to stop and keep looking, but I can tell this is from 9 months ago because the other one was from 9 months ago, and these appear to be recorded within a few days of each other.
All right, let's go back up and see where we're at here. Why are they adamant that those lights seen in the video are not from flashlights? Majestic Blue, I think that is a great question. There are 2 parts to that. Maybe they truly don't believe that they're flashlights, or it is credible information that has to be removed because it goes to the integrity of the investigation. And it's information they cannot have.
How much of a true statement did that end up being, turned out to be?
Out there. So law enforcement's allowed to lie. So it's one of the 2 things. They're either not the flashlights or we're being lied to. And remember, they can't. Not sure. They want help, they get it, and they don't want it. Says a lot. Exactly. Seth in the video from the steakhouse was telling, we never see it. Yeah, the steakhouse video, I think the only takeaway from that is that he basically said his son wasn't as jovial as he normally is, and it identified the clothing that he had on that night. People have been talking about that clothing. Now,
this is way back 9 months ago, and now we see that footage from the Texas Roadhouse, and he wasn't a happy kid. He didn't appear to be having the best weekend ever. That's just my personal takeaway. I mean, I know everybody's going to have their own personal takeaway from that footage at the Texas Roadhouse, but the one thing that all the way back then, I remember Seth making that statement. He didn't appear to be very happy. Not as happy and smiling as he would be walking out of I think he said, walking up or out of a restaurant with him or something like that, or to that effect. I don't remember the specific words. And I can't even remember where I heard him say that. I believe he was on Pascal a lot at that time, but I could be wrong. Why isn't it starting?
I don't know if they turned over that clothing to law enforcement that he was seen in that video.
Yeah.
But it almost seems like, because of how many people are asking about the clothing, that they've never turned it over. So again, this is a piece of information that only law enforcement has. I really wouldn't get involved in the speculation of it, whether they've turned it in or not, because we really don't know. And I think it'll take people down a rabbit hole, especially if law enforcement really does already have those clothes. We'll be spending months on why she didn't turn them in when they've been turned in. So, things like that are insignificant. There's significant details for the whole case. But for what we're doing here, it's an insignificant detail right now. It's going to be a more prominent detail later down the road if he wasn't in the black sweatpants and hoodie, which I found awfully ironic that this one day that he supposedly, allegedly goes out of his house, he's in all black.
I still feel that way. Hey, Cajun, nice to see you, love. I still feel that way. I still think it's ironic that he was described in all black, leaving in the middle of the night with no shoes on. That still strikes me just to this day. It's still just almost unbelievable.
Lucky him. Where did we end up going camping? They need to look for evidence there. That is the Yogi Bear campground in Mississippi. And that is a concern for me. The whole RV, that's another issue, major contention for me in this entire case is that RV, because if Chris did do something with Sebastian, it is my belief, if he worked on Monday, there's some questions coming in about whether he was working Monday too. Guys, like this case is really starting to get a life of its own. And so I'm working.
We all know that he was at work on Monday. This was, again, not previously recorded, having some conversations about it. But I also forgot, we kind of have left the RV alone. Should we? Because I still believe it holds something.
Through all these things, but I am working, trying to find legit information. So if I can navigate through this and find out for sure whether he was at work, because we've been told, Chris Proudfoot told us he was at work. He was like literally sitting on a crane when he received a call from his wife. And we're hearing that he may not even have been at work on Monday. I don't know if that's true. I'm saying that is a huge lie that can be very well confirmed by law enforcement. I'm praying to God he wouldn't make a stupid lie like that can be so easily corroborated. But there is a possibility. But I can't look at it. Our information is he was on the crane when that call came in, and that's what I'm believing. He's on that crane when that call came in. But if he was working that day and he did do this, he wouldn't have had time to stash this boy. He wouldn't have had.
Now, I will say this. He was not on the crane. We have corroborated that much. If nothing else, from the time that this was recorded to today, we have established and corroborated that he was not there on the crane at 6:03 or 6:01, whichever story you want to believe, when that call came in. And he wouldn't have gotten there until it seems like he clocked in or checked in shortly after getting off the phone with law enforcement after the 6:33 non-emergency call. So depending on how long that conversation, because remember, they've never released the 911 call to the public. Many times we have the 911 call by this point, but if you guys recall, another one that never released the 911 call was the Idaho 4. We've never heard that call in, but at least they called 911 instead of the non-emergency, dispatch line.
Time. He would have had to take this boy, in my opinion, back to his RV, or literally just open the door and kick him out, because he literally had no time. So that's where my problem is there's like an hour window here that I got to find out what happened. But if he did take him, I think he would have stashed him in his RV, because his RV was something that was just weird. He leaves. He gets a call at 6:30, like they're calling law enforcement. They have the cavalry coming in at 6:30, but he's trying to make us believe he didn't leave work until 9. Who takes 2.5 hours to get out of work with a missing child? That doesn't, to me, is not plausible.
And now we know that he didn't leave there until sometime, and I'm just going to give an hour range just for to cover the butt, but between 10 and 11 o'clock. And I believe it was more around between the 10:30 and 11 a.m. mark, not specifically at 11 a.m., but I believe it was around that time that his foreman or supervisor kicked him off the job for a poor attitude, citing a danger to other workers from everything that we've learned. So we also learned that nobody at that job knew he was missing a child when he got kicked off for the day. They didn't find out until law enforcement called the office to get some records or to confirm he was at work or whatever they were doing. That was when they realized that there was a child also missing. That's why I think they told them not to come back until that was resolved, because then themselves would have to think that that would be odd behavior. So, and we don't know what law enforcement had informed them. So I don't know. I don't know. Plus his poor attitude, they must have known he knew, only the people on that job crew will know what his state of mind was that morning when he came in.
It's not realistic to me. It's about as realistic as a 3-hour phone call. So he didn't get home. So there's an opportunity right then that he could have done something, because he didn't return to his house until 1 p.m. When Seth had gotten there, I think Seth said he got there right about, when did Seth say he got there? Right about 8? Because he got out of work at like 7:45 to 7:20 or something like that. And it takes about 45, 50 minutes to get there. So whatever time that was, he was there. And when he got to the house, Chris Proudfoot's mom was already there. Weird. And we heard that Chris Proudfoot's mom might have been seen near the school too at 5:45 in the morning. Really weird. But we can't, those are all speculative. So the whole RV thing, if he didn't have the time coming home to do something with him or going to work to do something with him, maybe that explains his urgency that he needed to go back to his RV the very next day. Remember that urgency he had where we're all sitting here scratching.
And I want to talk a little bit about that, because in all fairness, what we learned is that wasn't the very next day. We believe that was a day or two or something. I don't know the specific date. I heard it was like the third or fourth potentially. But that even in and of itself is unclear. But there is confirmation on 3/14 that Chlamydia posted, where it shows the RV back in the driveway. We didn't post that. She posted that. And that's the newest time we could see that RV back in the driveway. So I don't know where it was from the, the 26th to the 14th when it arrived back at the house. But we heard that it was that Wednesday. He was gone the 26th, and I think it was the 27th that he left, or the 28th that he left, and he was back by the 29th, and that was the same night that he stopped Miss Bobby in the driveway or in the roadway. So, but nobody knows where the camper was, which is again odd.
Our heads saying, did he just really go back to Mississippi to get his RV while his stepson's missing? Remember? And he's like, I had to get my, he came back and everybody's like, everybody wants to know why you left, sir. Why did you have to go back? Well, I had to go get my stuff. My work called me and told me that, I need to come get my stuff and get out of there and get here and not come back until, this is all resolved. And we're all.
Yeah. And that still to this day doesn't make sense, because that implied his RV was on campus there at the St. Jude project. I can tell you 100% that was confirmed when I went out there, that no workers stay on that campus. There might be security that stays there, but absolutely no people have their RVs on campus. So there is that. And don't you find it funny that he had this huge urgency for his camper, but they've never had an urgency for Sebastian?
Like, who does that to somebody? And then we learned that his camper wasn't even on their property. It was on a campground property that he's paying privately. So again, what was the urgency to go back and get the RV? That RV is important. I'm telling you guys, that RV is important. I don't know how it's important. I don't know if Sebastian was stored in it, stashed in it, or whatever. That RV is important. That camper is important, because there's a reason why he had to go back and get it the next day. And not only that, but why did he have to go back and get it the next day? Because it just been a few days from the time he went and picked it up. Him and Katie are running right back to the area. So why didn't he just leave it there? It doesn't make sense. And then there's another allegation here. I don't know how true this is, guys. I hate spreading misinformation, but I think it's a tidbit of information y'all need to know, is that we're hearing from people that there were SA allegations about Chris Proudfoot and a potential stepsister. Those are being investigated now. That's being looked into, but it looks like there may be some element of truth to that. I'm not sure yet. We're looking into it. We're looking into the allegation. We're looking into everything related to Chris Proudfoot, because this case has, no matter how I look at it, I analyze this stuff all the time. I do. I don't know what it is, but it's just, I have a clear understanding of bullshit. I'm a very blunt person. I like being very blunt to people, because I think it throws them off their game. When you're a blunt person and not, walking on eggshells, people don't know how to react to that. So you're either going to get a quick lie or a quick truth. So you're identifying those. It's that's the way I am. It's because you identify so much more behavior being just direct, blunt, and talking to somebody. Like, I'm an eyeball person. So when I'm talking to you, that's why I have no problem looking like this. When I'm thinking and stuff, yeah, I start thinking, but for I'm an eyeball person. I want to see, when I'm talking to you, I like seeing you right here. Because when I look you dead in your eyes, my eyes are going up and down. When I had that talk with Don Wells, I had my sunglasses on. I keep my sunglasses on. If I'm outside and I can cover my eyes in any way, shape, or form when I'm talking to people, especially people I suspect of doing horrible things, I am constantly eyeballing their entire body through my entire interview. I don't know why. It's just something I do. I did it with Don Wells. He was recording me. He never released that recording, by the way. He told me I couldn't record him. But when I was there, you clearly seen his phone was in his pocket and he was recording our entire conversation and he never released it. I wonder why. Because I wasn't rude to him. I told him straight up. I'm like, why is this going on? Everybody was asking about Summer Wells. Here's the nearest. I was out there a few months ago and I saw Don Wells working on his car, his truck. So I holler up there. I said, hey, Don Wells, who is that? It's Bullhorn. Ah, fuck. You gonna come down and talk to me? Didn't hear any more. And then we're getting ready to leave. And then all of a sudden, no shit, the truck starts moving. And I look over at Chronicles of Olivia and Mom, and I'm like, holy shit, he's coming down. Sit here. I'm like, Olivia, I can't record him. I don't want to record him. I need to ask him these questions. I don't want anything, and we didn't record the conversation. And I kind of wish I would have, but we didn't. And I had a conversation with him and I'm like, Don, what is going on here? What happened? He said, I don't know. I said, Don, look at this. How is somebody going to scale this mountain? I said, why is everything keep coming back here to this house and coming back here to you and your wife? Like, no matter how I try to work this case, everything comes back to you guys. Can you explain that? He said, no. I said, well, who can I look at? I asked him point blank, who else can I look at? I need somebody to look at, Don. Help me help you. Who else is there? You know what he told me? There's nobody else to look at. I was like, well, Don, this is a little bit of a pickle now, isn't it? There's nobody else to look at, and everything keeps coming back here. Can you at least explain that to me? And he couldn't. We had a few other words together, we did. We had a few other words together, but that was the gist of it. And he acknowledged there's no other people to look at, and he can't explain why everything keeps coming back to that house. I think that was the most truthful I've ever had Don. I tell you that when I spoke to him, I looked at him dead in his eyes. The man was sober. I had never seen him sober. You guys know I've seen him several times. So there's your update on Summer Wells. We haven't found her. Don Wells is still maintaining that they had nothing to do with it, but he still can't give me another person to look at, and he can't explain what happened. And he can't even explain how it happened. Like, everybody's like, oh, the dog trails. Okay, well, you know what? I'm a theory person, right? I'm gonna put a theory to test. Pick up a kid and run down that dog trail. Let's see how it does. Put the child in, helmet, in skating gear, and let's put this theory to test. Let's get a child that's Summer's age, Summer's size, Summer's weight. CP is not going to divorce KP, so she's not going to be able. Everybody's really confused about this testifying against spouses, just like the HIPAA. Okay, let me explain this. You yourself, if you want to provide your own medical information, you can't be charged with violating HIPAA. HIPAA is there to protect you. If you choose, it's basically an act that says you don't have to disclose. Okay. So if you choose to say, hey, I'm on medication, because Chris keeps saying, I can't tell you that because it's a violation of HIPAA. You're allowed to violate HIPAA. It's your child. If you want to get the information out there, you can do it. Now, why am I going through this when you're asking about a divorce? Because you said she won't be able to testify against him. That's not true. A married couple, a husband and wife, are absolutely allowed to testify against each other. The issue is they can't be forced under the law to testify against each other. There's the difference. It's not that they can't. I've seen married couples testify on and stay married and whatever. It's that the state can't force you to do it. If you want to go and testify, whether you're married or divorced, nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you. Now, there will be challenges. HIPAA only applies to medical staff. Spousal immunity. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I wanted people to know that, because everybody's like, oh, HIPAA. No, you, that's your control. Okay. HIPAA is the instructions for everybody else with your personal information. Remember, it's your personal information. You can disclose whatever the hell you want to. This is to prevent other people from doing so. So just remember that every time you hear that man saying HIPAA, now you know. Now you know. He's full of shit. He's been full of shit. It sounds like he's probably going to lawyer up before TBI gives him that damn polygraph test. What you bet?
I was wrong about that. From what I hear, he did take the test. From what I hear, he did take the test. So there's something. I'm surprised. I'm just as shocked as you guys.
So that's where we're at, guys. It's not looking good. Oh, the other thing. Some asshole, excuse my language, but I'm going to call him an asshole for effect. Excuse me, Pastor. I know you.
That was back when I think Sonia was, she overnighted me the cuss jar. So please excuse the foul mouth that I have. I have a potty mouth. I do have a potty mouth. I try to control it as much as possible.
Watch my stuff. But he's an asshole. I don't know if it's a female or male, going out in all the chat rooms saying that there is a heavy law enforcement presence around Katie and Chris Proudfoot's home, trying to get all these people talking about somebody going in there to misinform people. Well, we're the true crime genre. Okay. We overanalyze literally everything. And because we're who we are, we call each other and we say, who can we send out there? Right? We all know each other. All of us creators know each other. Whether we like each other or love each other. I will only work with creators that I absolutely love, or I want to support because they're doing good stuff, whether I like them or not. And so we ended up getting somebody to go out there. And this is what's so heartbreaking. As we are hoping that law enforcement was out there, it'd be perfect. Nighttime, forensics. We know forensics have not been done to that house yet. So we're thinking, okay, forensics, they're going in there for forensics. Well, we found out that's not true. Not only were law enforcement not there, they are not doing anything with that house. That house was pitch black. There's the work truck still out in front of it. And there's one single sign in the yard in case Sebastian Rogers comes home. It is my belief the reason why they ran out is because that mama cannot stand to be in that house knowing what happened to her son. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. That's how I feel.
Sorry, not sorry.
There's not one piece in my mind that believes, and even if Katie did pass her polygraph test, test her again. Test her again. I bet you if she didn't have knowledge, she has more knowledge than she ever had. Test her again.
I am hearing, take this with what you want to take it with, grain of salt, whatever the case may be. I heard that as someone hasn't been able to take a test without utilization of a certain prescription pill, and that prescription pill just so happens to be something that can help calm you and alter a polygraph test. So it's very interesting to see if, a drug test was provided prior to the polygraph.
Thank you. So that's where we're at, guys. We're just keep praying, but I've been watching everything. I listen to the experts, and I am monitoring the behaviors of law enforcement. And I can tell you, and I hate doing this because I know that there are some family members of Seth as well as Sebastian that watches this, but I have to think that they know as well that this is the law enforcement is not looking for Sebastian running, and they're not looking in those areas. They're looking in areas that give us a much more sad outcome. And I think that at this point, we all need to start looking at that, because
I gotta say, even with all of this, I thought that he would be back by now, found something. I just feel like he would be here. If he truly walked out that door, he would be here. They would have found him. He had no resources. He had no resources. He didn't even have shoes on his feet. You know, it just, at some point, he would have had a complete, utter meltdown. Why didn't anybody see him or hear him when he had his meltdown? You know, none of this makes sense. And we were even arguing back then that this wasn't a criminal investigation. You know, people were telling us this wasn't a criminal investigation. Everything that we've been working toward is truth. You know, is the truth. Now, we haven't found the truth, and we haven't found Sebastian. But each day, it seems like we're chipping away at something, because it seems like there has been a lot that has been revealed in this 9 months to us. And we have to think that if we're having these things being revealed, you know, over the 9 months, law enforcement either has already had this information or they have even more information. But it's a lot of the stuff that was speculative, some of it's come true, some of it hasn't, some of it has.
He's not found. He left without shoes on. We can't, he had no food. You know, I mean, it is what it is. But we need to find Sebastian. He's out there. He's out there. We need to find out where. All right, guys, I want to thank you guys so very much.
Let's see what we got coming
From
up.
the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere. True
Betty
crime
Day.
is. We're asking for the public case that's outside the norms, and as many of you guys can imagine. So we're just going to do our best. We're going to get out there. We're going to work. We're going to get out in the woods. We're going to see what we can do. If nothing more, we're going to be clearing some areas on the 21st. So give me some ideas of where you guys would like to look. I love you and God bless. Have a great day. Well, good morning, my beautifuls. I hope you guys are doing well. And I forgot my hand little thing. So you guys are going to probably be getting some type of motion sickness because I don't have my handheld. I may have to put it on the handheld. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bullhorn Betty. I'm still in my PJs this morning. Don't hate me. Don't hate me. Okay. We have been working. My team and I have been working literally around the clock.
I gotta tell you, you know what? We should just call it the Bedhead Betty Show. You know, why not? Why not? The Bedhead Betty Show. I think we're gonna create a new channel. Don't hate me.
Night was literally the only night I have gotten sleep, and I didn't get very good sleep. We have been combing over everything with this case, start to finish, looking at every element regarding this, you know, from the day before, the morning of, the behaviors of Christopher Proudfoot, the behaviors of Katie Proudfoot. I got to get my hand thing. I don't want you guys getting seasick. But there's some issues that are going on. So we had a lot of like troll type of events, if that makes sense, in a lot of the chat rooms on Facebook, trying to say that like FBI and stuff like that, just getting the rumor mills really started to see, you know, who's doing their due diligence, I guess. I don't know. I thought it was really stupid and childish because this is a human being we're looking for. I mean, this is not a joke. This is like real life that people keep trying to make it out to be something that it's not. Nobody is taking this case as a joke or a money grab by any stretch of the imagination. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing that because we are literally working around the clock just to show you a little bit of the work that we're doing. We're reviewing maps. We're going through the maps. We're circling. I mean, we literally are trying to find any possibility where this boy is. This is not a joke to us. Like, we're spending hours upon hours looking for areas in and around the Proudfoot home, the locations of some of the key players in this case. I mean, we are doing what we are supposed to be doing for this case behind the scenes. And every time we turn around, it's like more, people are trying to fight the system or trying to pass around false information to get people going and get these rumor mills going and get this firestorm of misinformation. And the only person that this is causing problems to, the only person that this is injuring, it's not injuring me if I make a mistake, right? It's not injuring you if we make a mistake. It's injuring this boy right here. That's the only injury that's coming from this. And it's so frustrating when I hear stuff like that. But, on a note, just for everybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, this is Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And his mom and stepdad's story has changed quite a bit over this time, over this month or so. Some of those misrepresentations right out the front. Hey, Curvy Delicious, it's nice to see you this morning. Right out the front is their whereabouts.
Wow. We're like a month in. Only a month into the case. Listen to that.
Story has changed quite a bit over this time, over this month or so.
Their stories, we were picking up on their stories changing within 4 weeks of this case. 4 weeks.
Some of those misrepresentations right out the front. Hey, Curvy Delicious, it's nice to see you this morning. Right out the front is their whereabouts. Like the stuff changes. When we first started this, she was home. They went out. They went to BJ's. They went to the bowling. They went to eat. They came home. They put the stuff away. At 9 o'clock, he went to bed. She went to bed at midnight. She wakes up at 6 a.m. She can't find him. And then all of a sudden, she calls her husband within 3 minutes, and the rest is history. They call law enforcement immediately. Well, that wasn't the case. They changed their story. Now we have a cousin and two aunts that were with them that day. Yet at the Texas Roadhouse, there's only her and her son on the camera. So those were the lies right up front. And then we had the lies about the polygraph test. Do you guys remember that? Chris Proudfoot was touting across all the social media platforms saying, we all took the polygraph test and we all passed the polygraph test. Remember that? That was a lie. When he went on Nancy Grace, we found out the only person that took the polygraph test was Katie Proudfoot, Sebastian's mother, the one that says that she was the only one in the house with this boy, which brings me up to the next question. Could the mom have done this? Because I gotta tell you, we've been looking a lot at Chris. But you know what? At the end of the day, the only person that's been sitting there, saying she was the only person in this house with this boy before he disappeared, before he walked out the front door, was Mommy Dearest, the same woman that just ran off and left her house empty for her son to come back to a dark, empty, cold house. Who does that? Who does that? Come on now.
Oh, don't worry, guys. We've recently learned she left snacks in a blanket out the front door if he came back so he could warm up. We just learned that recently.
Cameras in the restaurant. There was cameras in the restaurant, but from what Seth told us, he only viewed the one coming out of them going to the vehicle. And he said Sebastian didn't look like his jovial self. He didn't look like as happy as he usually looks with his dad. That's what his dad said. His face is as blood. Yeah, he's a sweet looking boy, So if the mom heard something about 10 p.m., he could have been anywhere by 6 or something. Yes. But Mel Baby, listen to this. On my live last night on YouTube, I took, because, we heard that thud. And so I grabbed my Black Laws Dictionary, which is like a book this big, right? Because I wanted to hear what a thud would sound like. They're in a 3,400 square foot home. And so I picked the book up and I just dropped it. And when I heard the thud, I thought, I don't know if I could hear something like that and not go check out where the noise came from. Watch the interview again. Slow it way down. You'll catch something. Which interview? The Nancy. There's a lot of them. They're becoming a few. Yes, too many lies. So some people actually think mom did it. When you're a mom, you hear everything. Yeah. And she was in the living room. And listen to this. So when I was on my show last night, some people brought that up. Remember, there's a comment, and I forgot all about this. There was a comment when she was, I can't remember if it was the first interview, the second interview, or what interview it was, but she made a comment that when she was up looking for Sebastian, that she didn't know if he was in the kitchen.
I think this was before Delilah, the real Me Too. This was April. This was April 11th. This was before we even had Delilah. This is pre-Delilah.
Well, listen to this. One of my people called into my show and said, because I had the floor plan. Do I have the floor plan in here? Hold on a second. I might have the floor plan. Did I delete it? There we go. There, look at that. We got the floor plan. So Katie and Chris's Proudfoot's room.
Guys, I will tell you, I have confirmed this is not the floor plan. Somebody told me 3 different times this was the floor plan. This is not the floor plan. It does have their address on it, but it's not their floor plan. It's a similar floor plan. There are some similarities to this floor plan, but this I'm told is not their floor plan. So I will, when I have an opportunity to find out one way or another, I think we have a 3D software image of that somebody did on some channel. I do have it. We'll look at it. It's in my research playlist, not this one, but we will look at it again.
Room's way over here. Sebastian's room's way down here. There's 3,400 square feet, and you see all this stuff in here, right? All this stuff between them, which makes it really difficult for me to think that she heard anything from his room if she was way over here. But she says she was in the living room. So we see the living room right here. There's still a lot of stuff here between here and the living room blocking sound. But the weirdest part that she said is that morning she got up. She went to Sebastian's room. He wasn't there. So she thought he was in the kitchen making some food. Well, one of my people that called into the show said, wait a minute. If she came out of her room, she would have been able to see right into the kitchen and know he wasn't there. So why did she make that statement that she thought he might be in the kitchen making himself some food? How can I send you this video? Bullhornbetty@gmail.com, Chris. If you can email it, that would be best. But if not, you can send it in the messenger. But that would be the easiest for me because that's what I'm always in is my Gmail. And so and you see how his room is like right up front. And then here is the garage. But see these steps right here? And you're probably thinking, why do we have steps in the foyer, right? It's because there's a loft that's above this right here. There's a loft above the 2-car garage. So this is the floor plan for the Proudfoot home. And so and the reason why is because I wanted to look at the sound barriers because of all this stuff. And I just don't see how the heck she's going to hear anything without a bullhorn. No pun intended. Let's see what we got here. Loud, loud, loud. Definitely be checked on. Right. Yes. It's what's called a bonus room. Correct. Now, this is the only
Something else that occurred to me after this time, which you guys heard me talk about several times, is the electronic lock on the door. Many of you guys have an electronic lock. Tonight, whenever the house is dead silent, I want you, if you live with somebody, to have them lock the door, not unlock it, but lock the door. Have them manually unlock the door. But I want them to lock the door from the outside, and I want you to see if you can hear it or know what the sound of your door lock motor sounds like, if you can hear that. I'm curious. I think somebody did it once before, but I can't recall because we've been doing this for a while. We've done some theory testing before, but I can't recall if what the results of that was.
Thing I have here is because they have a dining room or an optional type of loft room type thing right here. And I keep wondering if they ended up moving Faith's room here as opposed to here, because the way they described it is that his was up front, but Faith's was all the way in the back. And so I would think that they would probably be across from each other. But again, I don't know. This they may have converted their standalone dining room into Faith's bedroom, but I don't know because I don't know the design of their house. But here is where Sebastian's room is, and the second bedroom, and of course mom and dad's bedroom's way over here. And then you can't see it, but over this way there's also a one-car carriage garage as well. I'm going to send you one to BHB. Okay, I'm the one. Oh, well, thank you, Sonia. Nice to see you. I'm from the UK. I love your passion. Thank you. And you know what? I found out there was another person, because I'm always in Tennessee, covering. We got 4 cases in Tennessee, guys. It's concerning for me out there in Tennessee. We have Sebastian Rogers, which is the newest one. The one before that was Holland Snap. The one before that was Layla Santinello. And our oldest case that we're covering right now is Summer Wells, all from Tennessee, all that have, my understanding, TBI involved as well. And all still open cases, and nobody's been found. It's really hard for me, because when we started this journey out in 2021 in the state of Tennessee, it was for Summer Wells. And I have always been hopeful that her case would be resolved. I always knew her case was going to be resolved. I never knew that we would be here 3 years later and she would still be unsolved and nobody be held accountable for her disappearance. And I'm still sickened to my stomach that even though Hawkins County had a plethora of information related to the endangerment and neglect of their children, of all their children that they could charge those parents with, they have never brought one single charge against Don Wells or Candace Bly for any of the crimes against their children. It's very, very disheartening for me. It's very, very upsetting for me. And it's a complete failure of the system. And there's nobody that is to blame for that than the state attorney's office. There's literally nobody to blame for that but the state attorney's office. The neglect is clear as day. The endangerment is clear as day. Even if they can't get them on the disappearance of their daughter, there's other charges. There's low-hanging fruit. And I don't know if those statutes of limitations have run out because they drugged their ass so long. I'm so tired of Tennessee. I'm tired of having these cases in Tennessee. You know what? I think Tennessee needs to go back and get trained. I think they need to come to Florida and learn what law enforcement's really about, or Texas.
I just want to say, for the sake of Seth Rogers, I do feel this way. I still feel this way, but again, we'll leave it at that.
They've got to do something. This is getting ridiculous. It's getting absolutely ridiculous. So for all those that are here, we've been going through the maps of where we think, just ideas, spitballing about Sebastian Rogers, because we're not sitting here just trying to spin our heads on this case. We really, really, really need to try to find some areas of location. Guys, I want to show you.
A lot of people that are coming to this case now don't realize how much work, we put in it. Not just me, but my mods. They're at the beginning of this case, when it happened almost a year ago, we were up all night going through maps and going through theories and discussing things. That's what people don't realize. There was a lot of hours and work and chats and reviewing pictures and videos and just everything. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work around the clock at the very beginning of this case. We were hoping he would be found by now.
you guys something, and this is what's so defeating for me. It's this. This is really the search area, okay? It's almost a 3.5 hour drive. Probably if we were to walk it just straight, it would probably take us several days to get there from point A to point B. That whole thing needs to be searched. Everything needs to be searched. But you know what? You got to start at ground zero. This is what I believe law enforcement might have already searched. And why is that important? Because I'm about to go out there. I'm going to be putting my boots on the grounds. I'm going to be in all of this stuff here soon. And I need to find out what I believe has already been searched, because I don't want to waste my time in areas that have already been covered. That's a waste of time. We don't have time to waste. The camper, check that. I know, Kimber, you're not lying. I've been screaming about the camper for forever. But you know what I was also thinking? What do you guys think about this? Everybody here is familiar with like Brian Koberger, right? You guys are familiar with the Idaho 4, that really bad case out of Moscow, Idaho. Brian Koberger went into a house in the early mornings, or allegedly. Okay, so you guys are familiar with that? Well, see, one of the things that he did in that case is, or allegedly, we still have trial and stuff like that. He has not been convicted. So all of the stuff I'm talking about he's been accused of. Okay. So it's allegedly, it hasn't been proven in a court of law just yet. I believe it will be, but not yet. One of those things was, he turned off his phone, but they were following his digital footprint, with the lights, or not the lights, the cameras, his phone ping, and his auto pings. Okay. People don't realize your cars are tracking you too. If you don't know that, they are. It's never important unless you're committing a crime. Okay. Your car never comes into play unless you're committing a major crime. Okay. Then you're screwed. Okay. Your car tracks you too. One of the things he did is when he left the house, allegedly, he went an opposite direction, almost a long way around to get back to his house. So what we would believe maybe to throw law enforcement off, or potentially to dump evidence. So I was thinking, we're all going this way, going in the path that we believe Chris would have traveled when trying to decide what areas we're searching, because in the grand scheme of things, I truly believe that it would, even if Chris didn't do the crime, I believe he would have been the one that was called to come help. Right. So no matter how I look at this, I believe the transport is by the Christopher Proudfoot, opposed to anybody else. So I was wondering, him being military and all, he's obviously thinking outside the box. He's doing a well job at it. And we have not found Sebastian yet. We all feel something happened inside that home. It doesn't make it so, but it's still how we feel. So we have to look into that. So I'm wondering if he doubled back, because this right here is a road that I saw that connects, and I'm wondering, and you see all the greenery. I mean, there's it's just nothing but greenery here. This is really heavily wooded areas in lots of these parts. And I keep wondering if maybe he did a Brian Koberger, and doubled back because he could get right on the interstate right about there. And so, it's not, I'm just racking my brain of places that we could be looking. I don't want to be, like I keep going on these things, and I do it myself on my own show on YouTube, where we talk about the case. We are always talking about Katie and Chris and stuff like that. They're kind of the ones stealing the show anymore, right? It's not really talking about Sebastian or where he could be located or what we could do to think outside of the box to kind of reduce the size of the search area. If anybody knows who Chris Proudfoot is, let's start thinking about, or if you know somebody that knows him, let's start finding out what his interests are, where he was comfortable. Did he have a favorite place that he liked to fish or hunt? What was his behaviors? What was his pastime? We need to find all that information. Those are critical key pieces, because people work environments that they are comfortable in, especially when they do something that's illegal, or they have to dispose of something because they could get in a lot of trouble. They're going to go to a path of least resistance. They're going to go to a place that they know they can get away with whatever they need to get away with. People have those places. Where is his? It might be a key in this, even if not right there, maybe near there. Did anyone have there's Ring doorbell cameras, but see, I'm having some issues because of the recent revelations of people going into these Facebook groups and trying to cause this, upheaval with the FBI is is breaking down the door at the Proudfoot's home. It was all hocus pocus. But there was one that said that they saw law enforcement out there doing reenactments last Sunday into Monday. But because all of these other things came on the heels of that post, it almost makes you wonder if that post was legit or if it was just another troll post. And I really don't know. And then it always brings me back to, was those troll posts to distract from the fact that law enforcement truly was there and reenacting? I think if they were truly there and reenacting, just my opinion, I don't know whether they were. I'm not going to say that they were or were not, because I know for a fact there's been a lot of posts that we have corroborated untrue. But if they were there and doing a reenactment, I think they're trying to pick up those lights and pick up the shadowing that is observed on those cameras that they can't really make out. I think they're trying to do something like that, and they need to have the same type of darkness. They need to have the same type of environment. And it would be perfect from Sunday going into Monday to kind of see how the traffic is, what kind of stuff. But again, I really don't know if that is the case. But the probability of Katie hearing without somebody raising their voice in this house is pretty hard, in my opinion. Only people that have large homes will know what I'm talking about, the sound barriers and whether you can hear things from one side of the house to the other. Again, this is about a 3,348 or 98. I can't remember. I might be off 50 square feet home. I mean, we're talking about a large home here. We're not talking about a small home. Does anyone know if they had cameras inside the home? Well, Melissa, here's the thing. Katie Proudfoot worked for Brink's home security system. She was an installer of these very security systems, ones that would have cameras. However, according to her statement she's made publicly and on multiple social media platforms, for whatever reason, this particular service tech didn't believe in security systems that she was installing because, according to her, in their almost $1 million home, they had no security system. So the answer to whether they had a camera inside the home, my belief is they did have a security system. My belief is they do have cameras. And my belief is that was removed from the home. I have no proof of that. But if there were cameras, they're withholding them from law enforcement. We find out polytest results yet? Joey, well, it's kind of funny you bring up the polygraph test, because at first we were told everybody had taken them and everybody had passed. And then when Nancy Grace brought them on the show, all of a sudden you get, right? And, well, I took my test, Katie says. And he's like, well, I didn't take one, Chris says, And then we find out, oh, you lied. So the whole thing with the polygraph test is, according to Katie, she took a polygraph test and passed. I call BS. I don't believe it, but I have no way of proving it. So I had to eliminate it from my equation. But according to everybody else, nobody else has had a polygraph test. Nancy Grace offered Chris Proudfoot a polygraph test, and he said, name a place and time. And Nancy Grace, we love Nancy Grace, and she did just that. She named a place and time. And he said, oh, whoa, wait a minute. Not so fast there, Nancy. I wasn't expecting you to do this so quickly. And then we find out TBI's giving him legal advice and saying, hey, no, let's not do Nancy Grace. So he's like, I think he's going to end up lawyering up. I don't think we're going to get if I had to bet my money on it, my money's going to be, we're not getting a polygraph test. We're not getting any more polygraph tests. The only polygraph test we're probably going to get is Seth Rogers. And I believe it's because he has nothing to hide, literally nothing to hide.
Well, we did get Seth Rogers' polygraph test, but we did not get the stepfather's. However, the stepfather, allegedly, from everything we're hearing, has actually taken one. However, we'll never know the results of that unless they're discussed in court or in another type of setting, or released by law enforcement, which I don't see it happening.
He's talked about his strengths and weaknesses. He's talked about, not being a perfect parent. No parent's perfect. I don't ever expect a parent to be perfect. Sometimes we're lucky. Some of us are lucky that our kids survive. Okay. I get it. We want to make sure our kids are happy and healthy and have, all their fingers and all their toes. and we love our children, even though we know we're imperfect people and we're going to make a crap ton of mistakes raising them. We still want the best for them. And this family just feels like they gave up. And that's what it feels like. It feels like everybody just gave up on this boy. And I feel bad for South because I feel like he didn't even realize they were giving up on him.
Talk about how true that statement became. Now that we know the revelation of they were trying to rehome him since October 2022. Think about how that statement kind of, wow. I mean, this was, again, a while ago that this was recorded.
And he was just blindsided by all of this. And everybody keeps saying, you know, they believe that the Proudfoots took him and shipped him off somewhere. Guys, I mean, I'd love for that to be true. Good Lord. I'm sure Seth would love for that to be true. But what benefit would that whole scenario serve? I mean, honestly, the benefit that people that have been, you know, trying to say, well, it might be this or it might be that, really doesn't rise to the level of what they're going through right now. You know what I'm saying? We've got law enforcement breathing down their neck. We got social media personalities breathing down their neck. Like, I'm going into town. I'm sure they're scared in their boots because they don't know what I'm going to do. I have to be honest with you. I'm going to be searching. I'm not getting all rowdy and stuff like that. I want to get rowdy. Don't get me wrong. But there's a time and a place for that. There's a time and a place for that. And right now, my main focus and my main goal is
And I think that's important because I had said it on multiple occasions. I was not going to be protesting at all. And I feel like they thought when I was coming into town or whatever that I was going to be protesting. And they were watching me like a hawk, which was not, I mean, they were telling where my location was when I went there. It was a little nerve-wracking, I will tell you that much.
looking for Sebastian because he's the one that matters in all this. My anger, my frustration, my need to let them know where I stand and how I believe, I think has been stated. I think they've heard me loud and clear. Right now, I want to go find Sebastian. That is key. That is number one. I have time to do what I need to do once he's brought home. But until he's brought home, our butts need to be out there. I am probably going to make a public appearance in Mississippi. Nothing too dramatic, but I think I am going to do a sign waving on public easement in front of that Yogi Bear campground. I'm sure that they're probably on. I got to look at the tax records and stuff and find out what is truly public property, because people will tell you, oh, you're on public property, but no, the county is the one that maintains those roads. And if the county maintains those roads, they're being maintained by government funds. You can't tell me I can't go on there. So I've got to get an understanding of where that is and what's private property versus public property. But I do think we're going to have a sign waving out there just to show support for Sebastian and make sure that the people in the area know that the parents that ran away from this boy that's missing are staying in that campground. So we will be out there in force at some point. I'm not sure yet. I'm still trying to work on the schedule, but I know people are going to be, because I'm coming into town. So they're going to be trying to say, oh, she's got to do this and do that. I have never once in my life ever blindsided anybody with anything. Okay. If I'm coming to protest, I have no problem telling the whole world I'm coming out there to protest. That is not the case. This case is truly a search mission. It is truly a search mission. Anything and everything that I can find to lead to the whereabouts of Sebastian Rogers is the goal of this trip, and only the goal.
You got to understand, my car, the reason why I never went out there, I was supposed to have been out there months before I actually got out there. And I had car problems. I was my car was it was not doing well, and so I kept trying to get it fixed, and I had to replace. It was a nightmare. And so I was supposed to leave. My first trip out there was supposed to be April 21st. and I did not get out of the state. I ended up breaking down in Lake County or something like that. I don't know. There was literally one hotel in the whole place. So it was a little nerve-wracking to say the least. So I ended up having to turn around and go home. So I didn't even make this trip.
Of this trip. And I want to make sure that that's clear across social media. But again, I do plan on making sure that I'm seen and heard, especially in Mississippi, at least for a day. So with that being said, I thank you all for being here and learning something. I hope you guys learned at least a little bit with the floor plan. I don't know what people on TikTok are going through and showing you and stuff like that, but I really try to keep to the facts. I try to keep to information that is relevant to you that will help you guys understand the case a little bit more. And just start using your brains and thinking outside the box and helping me, because I'm getting your messages, I'm getting your emails, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, and you guys are giving me some great ideas and great search areas. And there was a place on these, I didn't even realize we had spam messages, right? I found my spam message box, and holy smokies, you guys have been sending me maps and areas. It's a beautiful thing. This is what social media and coming together for these cases is really all about. And that's the part of this job.
I don't think I've seen my spam emails since this point. I wonder how many other messages are in spam. I gotta check spam.
That I really cherish and love, because one person just can't do it all. And I just feel like with hundreds of thousands of people behind these cases supporting them, it just really makes the difference in the world. So it's a thank you to all of you guys. So I hope you guys have an amazing day. It's Thursday. We're almost there, guys. We're almost through to the end of the week, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. God bless.
All right, let's keep going. What else do we have?
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere. True crime is. We're asking for the public. I think we might be onto something, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to put your comments down below. Let's brainstorm about this. See you soon. Well, good morning, my beautiful people. It is nice to see you this morning. I've got to say, we are up early this morning. I'm going to be going over a lot with you guys because we are going to be breaking down the case related to Sebastian Rogers. We are going to be talking about this man right here, Christopher Proudfoot. Christopher Proudfoot has taken a lead role in our drama production over this little boy. His name is Sebastian Rogers. He's a 15-year-old autistic boy that went missing in Hendersonville, Tennessee. We're all learning about this boy. We're all loving this boy. And we're just trying to figure out what in the world happened, right? Sebastian Rogers, according to his mother, Katie Proudfoot, they went out on the 25th. The 25th of February was a Sunday. Apparently, it was a great day, a beautiful day. They enjoyed their day. They went to several different places. We were told they went to BJ's. They ended up going to a bowling alley, which happened to be in the shopping plaza with the Texas Roadhouse. They went over to the Texas Roadhouse, ate food, got up, left, headed home. Sounds like they had a normal evening, went to bed around 9 o'clock. Mom went to bed around midnight. Then we hear that there's something going on out there in the backyard or somewhere in the environment. So we've been looking into it. We've been blowing up photos, looking at videos, trying to make heads or tails of what we're seeing. And then so we started talking about Christopher Proudfoot, because a lot of us, not everybody's going to agree with this. Some people think, I have team members, mods that think Katie's responsible. I've got mods that believe Chris is responsible.
No, I'm not sick. I've got to review all this stuff because I'm preparing a timeline of events. And since I've got to go back through and see what all we've discussed, which now after looking at this when we haven't seen it in a really long time, there's some things that are starting to stick out to me that we've lost focus of. So since I have to review it anyways, we're reviewing it here together.
And of course, we got a lot of people in between. So we decided, okay, let's start putting some of these theories to test. What we believe that whatever happened inside that home. That's the way we believe. Whether it's true or not, this is how we're believing, this is what we're processing, this is how we're analyzing this stuff. So what is going to make somebody do something like this, right? So we start looking at their past behaviors. Let's talk about some of those things. What do we know for fact? We know that Seth told us that Christopher Proudfoot reached out to him to take Sebastian because Christopher and Katie were having marital problems. We've learned about a belt incident that happened. We were told it was 2 or 3 years ago. We find out that it happened just in January. And the Department of Children and Family Services were involved. We don't believe that they asked him to leave. We believe he just packed up his stuff and decided to stay in his camper. Remember, he had acknowledged not being home for a month. So we're asking, why would somebody hate this boy so much? Hate this boy so much that they want to do this? I think we've got a lot of the behind the scenes stuff when it comes to Christopher Proudfoot, guys. We've learned a lot. During our research, we found out that Katie Proudfoot was in the first position on the mortgage as well as their deed on their property. That tells us a few things. It tells us, one, that Katie Proudfoot is most likely the breadwinner and or has better credit than Christopher Proudfoot. That's what that says. So then we start looking into how is Katie making more.
No, I think it was actually a statement. I can't remember if it was Chris that made that statement. I'll have to go back and look, or if it was Seth. I think Seth was explaining to a creator the situation surrounding why they were requesting him to take Sebastian.
Money than Christopher Proudfoot. So we look into it. Look, everybody's trying to say that this family is not getting SSDI, which is the Social Security Disability. I'm calling BS. I absolutely think, because I heard at the beginning that Katie Proudfoot actually had to cancel and did cancel her services or whatever income or whatever services.
She said, "Sir," I remember the mom said she canceled some type of service with him. But listen to this. Remember, one of the criterias for the child to be able to get disability or a disability check is if the parent is also disabled. And somebody said that the handicap sticker on her vehicle is for her, not for Sebastian. So wouldn't that put that SSDI or whatever it's called back into play if that was true? I forgot about that as well.
And benefits that she was receiving from her son. I remember hearing that early on. Here's Sebastian Rogers. So we're looking at this. We found out that Chris Proudfoot maybe makes about $20-something an hour. Okay. They're living in almost $1 million property, guys. Okay.
It has been confirmed by the stepfather himself. I think he said $33 or $34. I can't remember the specific amount, but that was addressed at some point in time on somebody's show, most likely talking crap about me, but that's just FYI.
I don't think I can express this to you in enough sentences about Christopher Proudfoot. They were about to lose that SSDI payment, which could have been $1,200, $1,400. It could be all as far as $2,000 a month that they're receiving. We don't know what the amount is, but they are receiving something. If they have over $1 million worth of assets and Christopher Proudfoot's only making $20 an hour, I would have to venture to say that they are mostly likely living well above their means. Everybody keeps thinking the Bauer Sox have all this money and stuff like that. They're just like the rest of us. I looked into them too. There's no elaborate amount of money. As a matter of fact, their house doesn't. I think their house is like a half the cost of the Proudfoot's home.
But I also heard through the grapevine, and I haven't looked into this, so it's just speculative in nature, that they have several homes that they own throughout the country, potentially. I don't know what that means or what states those are in, but that's what I heard. I heard there's several homes throughout the USA that they own. But again, that was allegedly, I wouldn't even say in my opinion because that was just told to me. I don't remember who, I don't remember the context, but I definitely have not seen anything that supports that, but I haven't looked either.
They don't have a whole lot of money. Everybody's embellishing this. I think the issue is they were living well beyond their means, but it's not just that. Somebody says the disability cap at $943 a month. That's what somebody just said. It's all in the flow. Just said it's $943 a month is capped as the disability. When I was reading it for children, though, the SSDI was based upon the parent's income. We went through the entire thing. We went through the SSA, and the way it was written, the way it works is that whatever benefits that child gets is based upon the parent's Social Security disability benefit. I didn't know.
I'm going to go back so you guys can re-listen to that. But I also heard that through the grapevine, I don't know how true this is because we'll never know whether they got SSDI or not, in all fairness, unless they say it. But some people were floating around that they made too much money to collect as well. So that's a possibility as well.
And the way it was written, the way it works is that whatever benefits that child gets is based upon the parent's Social Security disability benefit. I didn't know that. So whatever that benefit is, and I know that changes based upon the amount that you pay into your Social Security Administration. I just read all of this last night. So maybe the 943 is a cap on adults. I don't know, because everything I've read when it comes to disability, not Social Security, disability, SSDI, it is based on the income and the amount of money that you paid into your Social Security. He's pulling money off of his parents' Social Security money, from the understanding that from everything that we read. And you can look that up. It's all on the SSDI, but you have to make sure you're looking at the children. And it says, yes, it's capped at, hold on. Jennifer Sullivan says, yes, it's capped at 943, not for kids. It's the same. My kids only get 930, or it's not 43, 934. So I think it's either way. So we have about $1,000 that they're getting. You're talking about a family that is most likely living paycheck to paycheck. That's what I'm believing. Christopher Proudfoot, we looked into him. He's a heavy crane operator, but when we look into his certification, he was only certified in 2019. So he's a very green crane operator. So when we look at the crane operators and what new crane operators get, entry-level crane operators get, is anywhere between $32,000 and $40,000 a year. That equates about $20-something an hour. That is well, too little to be living in $1 million.
And again, that has been corrected. I think I was looking at crane operators, and he was a tower crane operator, and there's a difference in pay, base pay for tower crane operators, which brings it about $30 an hour. So I wanted to make that correction. I forgot about this, but I know that for a fact.
Or homes, or having $1 million worth of assets. So Christopher, he's not the breadwinner. Okay, he's having marital problems, guys. Christopher Proudfoot was.
Oh, and before we get through this, there's also some other stuff that I still believe that they were still not as doing financially as savvy as they should because of all their stuff. An extra $10 an hour, it doesn't really justify that. So again, those statements are correct, but the amount the wage amount was incorrect.
$1 million homes, or having $1 million worth of assets. So Christopher, he's not the breadwinner. Okay, he's having marital problems, guys. Christopher Proudfoot was about to lose everything. He was about to lose everything.
Think about it. And what I meant by that is their house was a VA mortgage. This is all public record, VA mortgage. So that means they got 100% loan on it. So they only had to pay for the closing costs to get into the house. Their mortgage for, whatever $600 or whatever $1,000 is still quite steep. Plus you got insurance on top of that, Plus, they have the nice luxury truck, the nice luxury SUV, the nice luxury fifth wheel, plus the nice motorcycle. That all costs a lot of real money, you know? So, and when you looked at the mortgage, Katie was in, again, all public record. Katie was in first position on the mortgage. So that means one of two things. She was the one that made the most money for the mortgage, or the title, the deed. She was first position on the deed. And you usually get that if and the mortgage is if you have either better credit or you make the most money or both, right? But either way, she was basically the one responsible in first position. I mean, that's a big deal. So that told me a little bit. And if they were having marital problems and he was ready to walk out the house, he would have been pretty hot. Think how upset he is at Nina, thinking she's a gold digging bee. I mean, what happens when they acquired this big large asset together and his nice fancy life, comes to an end? Or would he be sitting in a better position? Because now he's caught the mortgage out of his life. Now he's just got the few things he does, and he's making a decent salary. So I don't know. But we definitely were on to something with the financial angle at this time in the case.
Everything. He was about to lose the custody of his daughter. He was about to get divorced from his wife. His wife held the keys to all of his property because she was the breadwinner and she's the one on the first position. Everybody's wondering, why are they selling this house? They can't afford it. They're losing.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Back in June of last year, there was rumor had it that they sold. Remember, there's another rumor that the house is being prepared now for market or private sale or whatever the case may be. But July, the end of June, beginning of July, there were rumors going around that they were preparing the house for sale at that time as well. So that did not happen.
Believe that Christopher Proudfoot is about to lose everything. He owns nothing. None of it is his. And when he looks at Sebastian, he blamed Sebastian for literally all of it. The marital problems with his wife, the fact that he couldn't get the custody of his daughter. And we know how he feels when $1 goes out of his pocket to somebody else, especially for somebody else's kids, right? We heard the whole Nina situation. What did he do to Nina when she went after him to take money out of his pocket? He tried to take her daughter. Now, this is all allegedly theory. This is what we're doing behind the scenes. We're looking at every aspect of this man's life to make heads or tails of why we are here. And it sounds to me like this man despised this boy, and we can't figure out why. And when we pull back all the layers, we realize Christopher Proudfoot is broke. He was about to lose his entire, he had, this beautiful home, all these toys. He looked like an image. He had more than anybody in his family. He was living higher on the hog than anybody in his family. They're having marital problems. Once his wife divorces, he knows she's getting the house and everything else. She's in the first position. He was married 5 times. So tell me what you would do if you had built this life, lived in this beautiful home, and now you got this child that you think is a predator. I think he manifested the predator argument to get him out of the house. And I think when he realized the SSDI was going to be going with Sebastian, I don't think he trusted Seth. And I think he, what did it say? This isn't meant to be rude, just curious what this has to do with Sebastian's disappearance. A lot. Motive means everything. How are we going to locate Sebastian in a really wide world when we're still trying to decide why we're in this position to begin with? Don't you think that it really matters who could have committed this crime before you can locate somebody? And again, that's just a serious question. I mean, we have to understand what happened in order for us to follow where to go. Who did it? Was it Katie? If Katie did it, wouldn't potentially he'd be in a different location than, say, if Seth did it? Or if Seth, or Chris Proudfoot, wouldn't he be probably in a different place? Or, so each person has their things. We're focusing on Christopher Proudfoot. I think motive is very, very important when it comes to something like this, because let's face it, in order for a crime to happen, we have to have several things, right? Motive, means, opportunity. Who had all those? And why? You could have means and opportunity, but if you have no motive, he would still be here. In my opinion, it's very irrelevant. It's very relevant. It's important. We need to find out the why. Why are we here? Christopher Proudfoot. That's why we're here. I truly believe that we're going to find out that man was on the verge of losing everything. And we're going to find out he blamed Sebastian Rogers. And that is most likely why we are in the position that we are in. Because people have been bouncing around between Katie and Chris. And I keep trying to figure out what Katie's motive would be. None of it's Katie's motive. Even the people that say that they believe that this family stashed Sebastian somewhere, which I don't believe. I don't think anybody would go through all of this to hide somebody. So it just doesn't seem to hold water for me. But I know it holds water for some people. So we are looking at that. But if for any reason Sebastian is out there, we need to know. But right now, we're learning that his mom would have kept everything. There's a point in here where we heard Chris say something. I don't know if it was in text message. I don't know if we heard it from Seth. I don't know if it was a text message to his wife or to somebody else. But I remember him saying something, I hope when you make the decision, you choose your son. And it gave me the creeps. They were having some major marital problems, so much so that Christopher Proudfoot refused to come home.
I forgot about those text messages. Are those screenshots of something? I think I've got them in the file somewhere. I forgot all about those.
He had not been home since the beginning of February, allegedly. I'm having a hard time believing it. But if I believe that Chris acted without Katie knowledge, I think she knows something now, then he snuck into his own house. Why would he do that? What does this 15-year-old boy hold? He holds the key to everything.
This theory was one of my very first theories that I had in this case when I originally analyzed it, because this was way, way early in the case. And I got to tell you how wild it'll be if we find out that it was something similar to that. I mean, I still think, Katie, but how wild would it be? Because I think I think what we have now is a lot more, and it paints a picture. And I think we have to kind of consult to Peter Hyatt and some other experts, people that have gone to school and are, masters of their class. Hey, sweet misery, masters of their class. And they say that they believe that somewhere around that 9:30 to 9 or 10 o'clock time frame, something serious happened. What? I think Peter Hyatt at the time believed that he was put out of the house, like put out the front door as a punishment. But I don't know if that theory of his has ever changed, or he still believes that. I can't recall. But at that time, when all this stuff was going on, that's what he had believed. So I don't believe that, but you got to consult him. And what I do believe is that 9:30, 10 o'clock area.
I think this boy was about to take Christopher Proudfoot down, and Christopher Proudfoot couldn't handle it, and we know his behavior. And then on top of all that,
and how crazy is that to know that might have actually been true with the 5 CPS reports and him, losing significant headway with getting custody of his daughter. I don't think we realize. I don't think we. Come on, Delilah. Get sorry, she's moving the computer desk here. All right, get situated. There you go. So that could still hold some truth to it. My statement there could probably still hold some truth to it. We just didn't know what about. But since this happened, we've learned of 5 CPS reports.
I think this boy was about to take Christopher Proudfoot down, and Christopher Proudfoot couldn't handle it, and we know his behavior. And then on top of all that, he's been trying to come out here and convince all of us that he's not this monster, right? He even said that. I can't believe people are looking at me. I'm not this monster. You guys will see. The truth will come out. And the only time I start hearing people say monster are usually people that are in short order are getting arrested and thrown in jail for being that very monster. Why is he so insecure? Why is he so concerned that everybody's going to look at him like a monster? That's psychological. Why? Because he looks at himself like a monster? Why did they run away from the home? Is it because they can't stand what went on in that house? Neither one of them can look at that house anymore. Something is going on here. And when you look at it, when you really peel back the onion, why is Katie and Chris working so hard to distance himself so far from that house? So far. Putting him 3.5 hours away. He's the only one that's the furthest away. And then when he comes into town, cops only want to ride along with him to show him certain areas. A man that hasn't been there for a month. I don't know, guys. And then let's talk about that image, right? Those videos that everybody's trying to convince us is a garbage truck. We've been working around the clock reviewing that. We even put together videos. I can't show you because it's part of our work product behind the scenes. And of course, we have to be careful because I've been throwing a lot of my maps up, and that's going to be defeating because if they're monitoring our movements and we're getting warm, it's giving them a heads up before we get there. So I have to be cognizant of that. And we are trying to find Sebastian, and we're trying not to have any more interference from the Bowersox or the Proudfoots in those efforts. They need to search the landfill. They did. They have. I don't know if they're continuing to do so. And then, of course, the whole thing about the pond, was that staged? It almost feels like there's a staging element to that. I mean, I just can't imagine that it's old, but we definitely know whatever happened. It appears that they parked in that community that's being built. That's right over behind them. I looked at that. I looked at the video that we're looking toward the house. Those lights that came on, people are looking at those lights. Those lights look like floodlights to me. It looks like somebody turned on outside lights of their house, which further confuses me because if they turn the outside sun.
We've learned that those are vehicle lights being turned on since this video was made.
Something was going on over there. And we know that there was a neighbor that's across the street that has Ring doorbell cameras. I just can't imagine that those Ring doorbell cameras picked up no lights and has no possibility of explaining where those light sources came from or what that large light that just popped on was. They've got to have video because according to them, the house across the street from the Proudfoots have a freaking Ring doorbell camera. And they're trying to say that they don't see anything, that there is no evidence. to me just doesn't really make sense, especially on that side of the house where the vans are parked, are where the two, I believe the two floodlights, it might be on the carriage house. I have to go back and look and see if, not the carriage house, but the carriage garage. I got to find out if it's on the two floodlights that stay on all day, or on the main garage or the carriage garage. But it's one or the other. I think it's the ones toward the back of the house though, but I can't be sure. I have to go back and look. But that's really what I think is going on. And so we were going back and forth because Christopher Proudfoot, again, also told us that, what is it? I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry, guys, it's early in the morning and I was up late last night with the team, just going, spitballing through all of this, trying to figure out the motive. And when we started realizing that Chris was broke and he was about to lose everything, he was about to lose his wife, he was about to lose his home because he can't afford it, right? He's only making $20-something an hour. I don't even know how somebody making $20 an hour is affording a $600,000, almost $700,000 property. That right there is insane to me. It's insane. So how in the world they were able to pull this off, it just tells me, I feel like they were living well beyond their means. I feel like they were living paycheck to paycheck. They were having financial problems. They were having marital problems. Everything was this boy's fault. He was starting to, become a teenager. So they're dealing with his disability as well as all the things that go along with a teenager. Just because he's not mentally developed yet, his body is still going through the changes of a 15-year-old boy, whether he's prepared for them or understands them or not. And we know 15-year-old kids are not cakewalk. You raise your hand if you got an angel for a 15-year-old. I'm waiting. I ain't holding my breath, babe. I was 15. We all were. When did we give our parents an easy time? I'm asking. We didn't. So he's dealing with the disability. We got a man that's a hothead that doesn't do well with children. And he's blaming this kid because all of his marital problems are from this boy. Them having to sell their house because they have to make this boy leave because they can't deal with him anymore. And that extra $1,000 is about to go to Seth, but they're making a crap ton of money now. What if Seth decides he wants child support? Would Chris really risk somebody coming and taking more of his money? We know how he feels about his money. Remember, Nina, he'd rather take her child than give her $1 of child support. We cannot forget that. That's a behavior. And he looked at her like, shut up. I think we did find the motive. I think it was financial. In all these cases that we cover religiously, we always say follow the money, but we're not following the money here. And I think
I do not believe that theory anymore. I have a totally different theory than I did all these many months ago when we were going down the financial alley.
If we follow the money, we'll realize that there's little of it. There's a lot of debt and a little bit of that money. I truly believe this family. So zero evidence against them. I don't think so. RJs, think about it. Let's talk about the evidence. The little bit of evidence that we have. The little bit of evidence. RJs, I truly believe the lack of evidence is the evidence. Because of the lack of evidence, to me, it feels like it's a cleanup. Now, if this boy just walked out of the house, what's the purpose of the cleanup? Everybody leaves evidence behind. RJ, I guarantee no matter where you are right now, you just left your DNA. I bet you if you're at a counter or in your kitchen, you're probably drinking your cup of coffee. You're leaving, you're shedding skin cells as we're talking about this. Your hair is falling out. You're touching something, leaving your fingerprint. You're touching something, leaving your DNA, a speck of DNA. You're moving around, so you might get some shadowing on your outdoor cameras from the lights from the inside of your house, and you pull in front of your house, and your shadow going out the window. You're kicking on your alarm, your security cameras. All of this is gone. No evidence. Very, very limited evidence. Can you explain that to me? Because I got to tell you, I can guarantee if I walk out this door, there's going to be a crap ton of evidence. You know why? Because my hair's, you look at this. I bet you I can pull. I got long hair. So you can just go like this and you'll pull a strand out, right? I bet you I'm going to leave a strand going all the way out to my mailbox. I bet you I'm leaving my DNA on my mailbox handle. I'm going to drag my garbage out. I'm sure I'm going to hit on that. Nothing. The only thing they hit on was possibly a garbage bin in the next community over? I don't know. Just something to think about. But I think the lack of evidence in this case is their biggest piece of evidence. It sounds crazy, but to me, whenever I look at this stuff and I see no evidence, how can there be no evidence unless somebody is intentionally trying to remove evidence? Because we leave evidence literally everywhere. And especially with all the new technology and DNA, we don't even need, a gallon of freaking blood out of us anymore. I mean, all we need is a molecule of spit, right? A molecule of spit. Or in the case of Brian Koberger, literally one speck, one molecule of DNA. One speck. Yeah. And let me tell you, the Idaho 4 was not cleaned up, right? They didn't clean the Idaho 4 up. When the police got there, it was a mess of evidence that they had to go through. So we go from one scene that wasn't cleaned up, that has a mess of evidence to it, to another scene that has no evidence. No evidence. No evidence. Think about that. That is the biggest piece of evidence. I think they're going to get this case. This case, to me, is going to be another digital case. It's going to be another Brian, like a little bit of a Brian Koberger case in the sense I truly believe it's going to be traffic cameras, automobile data, and telephone data that's going to really seal the fate of this case.
I still believe that. I still absolutely 100% believe that. Guys, we're going to stop there. I'm getting tired. I just wanted to come to you. I was going to be reviewing this footage, so I figured if I'm reviewing it, we can review it on the back channel here and see if we can learn anything. And I picked up a lot of stuff that I forgot all about, and hopefully you guys did too. So we'll be back on this channel later tomorrow afternoon. I will see you on the main channel. It's already 6 o'clock. I don't foresee me doing another show tonight. I just kind of been relaxing with my puppy. It's been very, very cold here. And when it gets cold, my back hurts really bad. So we had 35-degree weather this morning and my back has not been the most cooperative today. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. I love you. God bless you. We'll see you soon.